Part 171. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 1702. As time passed, everyone began to feel nervous. Although no one said anything, they all understood that Jianfang saw Chen Yakin in the bathroom twice, standing there blankly wiping tears, but she did not say anything. Walked away quietly and sighed. 7 days. Time passes day by day. They are waiting for the final verdict. The result of Meng Ping's genetic test means his life and death. If the test passes, at least his life will not be cut off so quickly and can continue. But if Jianfang quietly asks Xiaofang, what will be the result? Xiaofang said, don't worry, most people will get through it, and only a few won't. A minority, what is the proportion of a minority? Jianfang did not dare to ask any more. When Xiaofang said this, she felt that her heart was trembling. After hesitating for a day, Jianfang finally said what no one dared to say. Jianfang asked, Xiaofang, what if Lao Meng fails the genetic test? The road to surgery is blocked, and chemotherapy will only aggravate Meng Ping's faster death. Targeted therapy is already his last resort. What if this road is still blocked? Xiaofang smiled bitterly and shook her head. Everyone knows the answer. If there is nothing to do, they are helpless and waiting to die. Hope is racing with death, and the one who wins is always the arrogant god of death. As the days passed, everyone's faces became more and more solemn, and their voices became softer and softer. Although no one expressed any expression in front of Meng Ping, they knew that Meng Ping was actually waiting for him, too. Final verdict. Waiting makes people so anxious, and makes time so long and short. Everyone is looking forward to this day, but they think it comes too fast. In the blink of an eye, 7 days have passed. Meng Ping, how many more 7 days will there be? It seems that only at this time did everyone realize a cruel fact. It turns out that the time of each of us is counting down from the moment we are born. Tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. At noon, Zhang Chen woke up and felt a bit bitter in his mouth. He took the cigarette on the bedside table and took 2 puffs. Even the cigarette was bitter. He didn't want to smoke anymore, so he put out the cigarette in the ashtray. He got up, pulled on his slippers and walked into the bathroom. He rinsed his mouth with mouthwash, squirted it, and then spit it out, but the bitter taste still didn't go away, as if it was stuck tightly in his mouth. Zhang Chen squeezed out the toothpaste and brushed his teeth carefully, inside and out. After brushing, he still gurgled, spit out the water, and shook his head. He stuck out his tongue in front of the mirror and looked at the coating on his tongue. There seemed to be no change. He took a towel and washed his face. After washing, he walked out of the bathroom, got dressed and walked out. He saw Lu Yun and Xiaofang sitting on the sofa in the living room. Have you had lunch? Zhang Chen asked. Xiaofang told him that he had eaten it in the company. Zhang Chen took milk and bread from the refrigerator, walked over and sat down, took a sip of milk, shook his head, took 2 more bites of bread, and put the bread down. What's wrong? Lu Yun asked. Zhang Chen said, I don't know why, but my mouth feels bitter, and everything I eat tastes bitter. Xiaofang asked, do you want me to cook you a bowl of noodles? Zhang Chen shook his head and said, forget it, let's go. Then you should eat some more, Lu Yun said. Zhang Chen picked up the milk and bread and said, let's eat on the way. Lu Yun and Xiaofang also got up. The 3 of them went downstairs, got in the car, and drove out of the community to the hospital. Today was the time for Meng Ping's genetic test report to arrive. They were still on the way, so Jianfang called and asked Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen, where are you? We passed the tunnel and arrived at the Bund, Zhang Chen said. The doctor just told me and Yakin that Lao Meng's genetic test report has arrived and asked us to get it. Neither of us dared to go. We will wait for you, Jianfang said. Is Xiao Fang here? Qian Fang asked. It's definitely coming, Zhang Chen said. Okay, then hurry up, Qian Fang said. Zhang Chen said yes. Xiao Fang is the only person in their group who can clearly explain what is going on with genetic testing and targeted therapy. She is the authority among them. At this point, people naturally regard her as theirs backbone. Zhang Chen and the others arrived at the ward. As soon as they got out of the elevator, they saw Qian Fang and Chen Yakin waiting anxiously at the elevator entrance. They all walked to the doctor's office together. The doctor saw so many people coming in and said to them, wait a minute, report Professor Shan Kui took it away and I called him. As he spoke, he picked up the phone on the table, said a few words, then kept nodding put down the phone, and said to Zhang Chen. You should go to the conference room you went to that night. Dean Wu and Professor Kui are waiting for you there. When Xiao Fang heard this, her face turned pale. The others were still thanking the doctor, and then everyone walked outside together. Walking to the corridor outside, Xiao Fang pulled Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen slowed down and the two of them fell behind the other three people. Xiao Fang approached Zhang Chen and whispered, it's over. Zhang Chen looked at her and suddenly understood. He felt dizzy for a while. Obviously, if the test results are satisfactory, Professor Kui and Dean Wu don't need to see them, they can just let the doctor on duty tell them the results, and then continue the original treatment plan. Even Dean Wu has to show up again. It must be because the test results are not satisfactory. This meeting is of a consoling nature. Zhang Chen sighed and said, let's talk about it after we go. Xiao Fang nodded. They arrived at the second floor of the front clinic building, found the conference room, knocked on the door, and the door said please come in. Pushing the door open, Dean Wu and Professor Kui were sitting there with serious expressions. Although Zhang Chen was already prepared, he still felt a little nervous. Several people sat down. This time, unlike that night, Xiao Fang did not sit at the edge, but in the middle. They tacitly asked Xiao Fang to sit opposite Professor Kui. Zhang Chen bit the bullet and asked, Dean Wu, Professor Kui, are the test results out? Dean Wu nodded. Professor Kui pushed the report sheet towards Xiao Fang. Xiao Fang glanced at it and raised her head. Everyone else looked at her. Xiao Fang shook her head. Brother Meng's genetic test did not detect EGFR gene and CRAS gene mutations, Xiao Fang said, targeted drugs have no effect on him. When Chen Yakin heard this, she burst into tears, and Qian Fang hugged her. Dean Wu sighed and said, we are also very sorry for this result. Starting from today, we will stop taking the medicine. Don't stop, Zhang Chen shouted, don't stop that Irza. Professor Kui said, if you use it, it will be in vain. It will not be effective. There is no need to spend so much money. Zhang Chen knew in his heart that if he used it, it would be in vain, but if he didn't use it, Meng Pingping gave up all the treatment methods and just waited to die. Moreover, stopping the medication is equivalent to directly telling Meng Ping that there is no hope for you. Zhang Chen said, thank you, Dean, thank you Professor Kui. Regardless of whether it is effective or not, I just ask you to continue taking the medicine. Thank you. Qian Fang kept nodding. Okay, Professor Kui said, then continue using it, but reduce the dose. Use a placebo. Dean Wu seemed to know what Zhang Chen and the others were thinking, and told Professor Kui, who agreed. The so-called placebo is made of glucose, starch, etc., which has no medicinal effect or side effects, but its appearance, size, color, dosage form, weight, taste, and smell are the same as real medicine. Taking a placebo will, at least psychologically, it can give Meng Ping a comfort and reduce the toxic side effects of real Irza. The preliminary clinical trials of Irza were conducted at their Huashan hospital, so they have a placebo of Irza here. Xiao Fang lowered her head and thought for a while. She raised her head and asked, Dean Wu, Professor Kui, What if we do chemotherapy again? Chemotherapy? I told you that day that the patient's physical condition was no longer suitable for the second chemotherapy. He also had high blood coagulation and low red blood cells. Professor Cui said, his various indicators do not allow for further chemotherapy. What if we insist? Xiaofang said. Nonsense, and overtreatment will only aggravate the patient's condition, said Dean Wu. But, we have no choice, Xiaofang said with red eyes. Even if there is only 1/10,000th chance, we have to give it a try, hoping that a miracle will happen. Without treatment, there is no possibility of improvement. It's just me lying on the hospital bed, suffering for 10 or 20 days more. I agree, no matter how big the risk is, we are willing to take it. Chen Yakin also understood that Meng Ping had no other way out. Dean Wu sighed and said, this decision of yours, to put it bluntly, seems like suicide. Zhang Chen and Qian Fang both nodded and said, we also agree. They have no choice but to take this risk. Dean Wu thought for a while, and he and Professor Cui said, continue to use anticoagulants to lower the patient's blood coagulation level. At the same time, use drugs to restore his red blood cells to close to normal levels as soon as possible. After a week, we will then evaluate the risks of chemotherapy. Professor Cui said yes. Dean Wu looked at Zhang Chen and the others and said, this is the only thing we can do. Zhang Chen quickly said, thank you. Several people walked out of the conference room and walked to the corridor outside. Chen Yakin felt as if her feet were filled with lead and she couldn't walk anymore. She squatted against the wall, and Qian Fang squatted opposite her. He put his hand on her shoulder and just said a few words of comfort. The two of them started crying and hugged each other. Zhang Chen walked over and stood beside them. Qian Fang looked up at him from below and shouted. Zhang Chen, why is Lao Meng so unlucky? Who the hell is it that closed his doors one by one? Xiaofang and Lu Yun also sighed. Zhang Chen said. We still have to think about how to tell Meng Ping. It can be seen that he is also waiting for this result. Don't tell him the real situation. Just tell him that the test results are very good and that he can undergo targeted therapy. Isn't the daily medication still on? We will lie to him, Xiaofang said, otherwise, I'm worried about Meng. Big brother will completely collapse today, let alone undergo chemotherapy. Zhang Chen said yes, Xiaofang was right, let's all lie to him together. I'll go and tell him that you don't have to come. Zhang Chen and Qian Fang said, yes, with just their faces, as long as they walked into the ward, it goes without saying that Meng Ping knew what the result would be. Zhang Chen walked towards Meng Ping's ward. At this time, he strangely found that the bitter feeling in his mouth was gone, but his heart began to feel bitter. Thank you readers 1297873838407110656 and 0HJKLG for your rewards. Thank you for your monthly votes from Ermao, Zongkai 727, Qian Dad, Wu Family Courtyard, Tamagotchi, Jumping Pig, Book Friends 120517063706816, and Book Friends 201711192342199749. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1703. Zhang Chen walked to the door of Meng Ping's ward. He stretched out his hands, rubbed his face vigorously, and then patted it twice before walking in. As soon as he entered, he smiled at Meng Ping and said, Meng Ping, just be happy. I'll ask the second-rate guy to bring some more dishes tonight. Meng Ping's eyes jumped and he asked urgently, what's wrong? When the results of genetic testing come out, you can do targeted therapy. If IRSA is effective for you, you can just continue the original treatment plan, Zhang Chen said. Really? Meng Ping asked. Of course it's true. The nurse will give you the medicine later and you will know after you see it yourself, Zhang Chen said. Meng Ping couldn't help but laugh, and at the same time reached out and patted the head of the little nail sitting by the bed. The little nail was patted inexplicably. Looking at him, Jiang Chen quickly said, "Little nail, your dad's health will get better. After a while, Dad can take you to Jinjiang Amusement Park to ride the roller coaster. Do you like it?" Little nail nodded and said, "I like it." Meng Ping looked behind Jiang Chen and asked, "Where are Qian Fang and the others?" Jiang Chen smiled and said, "Those women are so happy that they are crying outside. They are crying like crazy." After a while, Meng Ping saw Qian Fang and the others filing in. Sure enough, they were all smiling, but their eyes were red and swollen. Meng Ping sighed secretly, and he became happy. Several women gathered around Meng Ping's hospital bed, chirping to congratulate him. Xiao Fang said, "Brother Meng, you have to believe that today's medical methods and science and technology are advancing rapidly. People can clone sheep and cows. In a few years, cancer was not a problem at all, just like smallpox was a problem for people in the past. That's right, when that time comes, just clone another Lao Meng and throw him away, Chen Yakin." Lu Yun said that. Everyone laughed, and Little Nail was frightened. She opened her eyes wide and shouted, "You can't throw Dad away." Lu Yun quickly said, "Okay, okay, don't throw it away, but give him to Little Nail, okay?" "Okay," Little Nail shouted, "I still want my mother." Lu Yun said, "Yes, I will give you my mother as well. What do you want to do with them, Little Nails?" "Go ride the roller coaster," said Little Nail, "and tell them to behave." Everyone laughed. Jiang Chen patted Jian Fang on the shoulder, and the two of them walked out. When they reached the corridor outside, Jiang Chen asked Jian Fang, "Do you want to notify Meng Ping's sister and his parents?" Jian Fang understood. This was to prepare for the worst and prepare for the funeral. Jian Fang said, "His sister can come. If we tell her the real situation, his sister will definitely cooperate. Forget about his parents. When they get here, the two of them may have a disagreement and start fighting in the ward." At the end, Jian Fang cursed, "I have never seen such parents. Lao Meng has not been seen for several years. They have never come to the company to ask, and they don't even have a phone number." Jiang Chen said, "It's no wonder Meng Ping always avoids them. They must be used to it." Jian Fang said, "That's right, but they still go too far. But no matter what, they are always Meng Ping's parents. Chen Yakin and Xiao Dingzi must take advantage of Meng Ping's still life to recognize them, right?" Jiang Chen said. Jian Fang thought about it and realized what Jiang Chen said made sense. She said, "Either way, let his sister come first. His sister is very smart. When she arrives, let her decide the rest of the matter. The most important thing in their family is know your propriety." Jiang Chen said yes. The two people were talking when they saw two elderly people, a man and a woman, walking towards here. When they saw Jiang Chen and Jian Fang, they asked them if this was Meng Ping's ward in front of them. Jiang Chen said, "Yes, who are you two?" "You are Chen Yakin's sister and grandma." The woman spoke with a Shaoxing accent. Jiang Chen understood that they were Chen Yakin's father and mother, and said quickly, "Yes, this is the room in front of you. Hello, uncle and aunt." Jian Fang also quickly said hello to them, then took them over and opened the door. As soon as the two people walked in, Little Nail saw it, and her grandparents ran over screaming. Meng Ping and Chen Yakin have never returned to Shaoxing in these years, but Chen Yakin's parents often go out without telling the villagers. They don't dare to take a bus directly from Shaoxing to Ningguo. They always take a bus to Hangzhou first, and then from Hangzhou take a bus to Ningguo to see Chen Yakin and Meng Ping, especially Little Nails. When Chen Yakin's parents arrived, Jiang Chen, Jian Fang, Lu Yun, and Xiao Fang withdrew and gave up the ward to their family. Zhang Chen just made an appointment with Chen Yakin to invite his parents to have dinner together in the evening. Zhang Chen and the others went outside and looked at each other. Lu Yun said, "I lied to Meng Ping until I almost believed it was true." "Me too," Qian Fang said. She turned around and asked Xiao Fang, did you see something wrong earlier? Xiao Fang said, "I also hope I am wrong." Qian Fang sighed heavily, knowing that this was impossible. Even if Xiao Fang was wrong, Professor Kui and Dean Wu would not be wrong either. But how much she hoped that it was all wrong. Xiao Fang's face was full of worry. She said, "Even if it's a lie, it won't last long. If IRSA doesn't work, Brother Meng's condition will deteriorate rapidly." Zhang Chen said, "Never mind him, if you can lie to him for a day, he will." The next day, Li Yang and Su Jiaking arrived with Meng Ping's sister and brother-in-law. They didn't dare to tell them the truth on the way. When they got here, they didn't dare to take them to the hospital immediately. Instead, they took them to a hotel to stay. Zhang Chen and Qian Fang told them the real situation. Meng Ping's sister collapsed when she heard about this situation. Qian Fang persuaded her for a long time before she persuaded her to help deceive Meng Ping. Her sister and brother-in-law also agreed. When asked about her parents again, her sister refused, saying that they must not be allowed to come. Once they arrived, the matter could no longer be hidden. In order to vent their dissatisfaction with each other, they would use any unpleasant words. "What are you going to scold?" Qian Fang said. "They would scold me. My brother's illness was God's punishment for him," said my sister. Qian Fang cursed. Chen Yakin's parents came and stayed for 2 days. After Chen Yakin persuaded them to go back, Meng Ping's sister came and left again with red eyes. In the evening, Zhang Chen went to Meng Ping's ward to replace Qian Fang and Chen Yakin. Qian Fang and Chen Yakin were about to leave with small nails when Meng Ping stopped them. Meng Ping told them, "I know you have been lying to me these past few days. I know my own body. I know exactly whether it is getting better or not." Zhang Chen wanted to say something, but Meng Ping stopped him. Meng Ping said, "Zhang Chen, I thank you for your kindness. There is one thing I want to discuss with you. I hope to settle this matter while I am still awake." Zhang Chen nodded. "Say it, Meng Ping." "In the past few days, I have been thinking about the affairs of those Shaoxing people. I have also settled the accounts. As for the Shaoxing people's accounts, now that I have disposed of the assets of my Asia-Pacific business building, I should be able to pay off their money." Meng Ping said. "Lao Meng, how long has it been and you still care about such nonsense?" Qian Fang said. The corner of Meng Ping's mouth twitched, and he said, "It was at this time that I felt that this matter had to be dealt with. I sold the assets of the Asia-Pacific business building to pay off the debt, and the rest was my building. The annual rent of the 6-story shopping mall below is enough to support Yakin and Xiao Dingzi. Yakin, will you object if I do this?" Chen Yakin said, "I listen to you." "I object," Qian Fang said with red eyes. "What's wrong with this?" Qian Fang, "Thank you. I know you are reluctant to let go, and I know that you are also thinking about Yakin and Xiao Dingzi. However, I am doing this to accumulate virtue for Xiao Dingzi. I don't want Xiao Dingzi to spend his whole life, and even his grandparents will not dare to do it. Go, I don't want Yakin to even dare to go back home, let alone them go back and have to be poked in the back and scolded," Meng Ping said. "Well, if you think so, I have nothing to say," Qian Fang said, "but there is no need to sell the Asia-Pacific commercial building. I will handle the affairs of the Shaoxing people." Zhang Chen also said, "Yes, Meng Ping, you don't have to worry about this matter, we will take care of it." Meng Ping stretched out his hand and waved it. Meng Ping said, "Qian Fang, Zhang Chen, thank you. I caused the trouble. Of course I have to deal with it myself. Otherwise, I will die in peace." At this point, Qian Fang and Zhang Chen had nothing to say. Qian Fang said, "Okay, I'll do what you want." Meng Ping took a long breath and said with a smile, "After this matter is explained, I will die without regrets." Qian Fang and Chen Yakin sobbed softly. Meng Ping looked at Zhang Chen and said to him, "Zhang Chen, during this period, when I close my eyes, I always see the past. Can we be brothers again in the next life?" Zhang Chen nodded, "Okay." Meng Ping looked at Qian Fang again and said, "Qian Fang, can I be your boss again in my next life?" Qian Fang cried and said, "Yes, but we have to control you. You are not allowed to smoke or drink." Meng Ping laughed and said, "What does the poll say this is?" "Yes, Sun Yang's godson, I am very happy to have you ladies." Yu Qian Fang cursed. A few days later, Dean Wu and Professor Kui called Zhang Chen and others over and told them that after evaluation, they still believed that Meng Ping could no longer undergo chemotherapy. Zhang Chen, Qian Fang, and Chen Yakin all insisted on doing it. They said, "Even if we are betting, we must make this bet." Dean Wu said that this is science, not child's play, and not gambling. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said, "Dean Wu, Professor Kui, let's ask Meng Ping for his own opinion. If he doesn't want to do it, we won't do it. If he wants to do it, we ask you to help him no matter what. Help is the unanimous request of the patients and our families and friends, and we hope you can satisfy us." Dean Wu sighed and said, "Okay, but you have to go through all the procedures clearly." Zhang Chen said, "Yes, we will do whatever procedures need to be done. Don't worry, no matter what the results of this chemotherapy are, we will accept them and will never pass the responsibility to your hospital." Chen Yakin nodded on the side. Zhang Chen took the doctor back to the ward and told Meng Ping exactly what happened. Meng Ping said without thinking, "I've already lost my whole life, so why not make one last bet?" Zhang Chen, remember, that's what's written on my tombstone, no joke. Zhang Chen nodded and said, "I will write about a gambler who gambles with his life and suffers repeated defeats." Meng Ping smiled and said yes. The second round of chemotherapy was completed, but the miracle did not happen. Meng Ping's condition deteriorated rapidly, and he was sometimes awake and sometimes in a coma. At this time, the Spring Festival is coming soon. Thank you Hu Hu and Xiaoshen Nian Fang 48 for the reward. Thank you Hu Hu, who is only 48 years old and has no future but only remembers the original intention for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1704. Meng Ping could no longer eat, could only drink a little water and milk from time to time, and could not get out of bed. He could not even walk from the hospital bed to the bathroom with someone's support. The last time, when Lao Tao stuffed the urinal under the quilt and persuaded him to urinate on the bed, Meng Ping refused, gritting his teeth and showing an angry expression on his face. Zhang Chen knew that Meng Ping wanted to maintain the last bit of dignity, his human dignity. Zhang Chen and Lao Tao said to let him go and we would help him over. Zhang Chen put his hands under Meng Ping's armpits from behind and lifted them up. Lao Tao lifted the quilt and hugged Meng Ping's feet. They first turned Meng Ping's whole body across the bed and pushed him. His feet were dangling in the air and moved outside the bed. Lao Tao put them down again and put on slippers on his feet. Zhang Chen used another force to make Meng Ping sit up on the edge of the bed. Lao Tao took it and Zhang Chen said, "Lao Tao, hold him still." Lao Tao said yes and helped Meng Ping sit there. Zhang Chen let go of Meng Ping, walked around the end of the bed, and walked to the other side of the bed. Lao Tao stood on the right side of Meng Ping and supported him. Zhang Chen walked to the left, with the two of them on one side. Zhang Chen and Meng Ping said, Mengping, let's get up and go to the bathroom. Mengping nodded slightly and said yes. Zhang Chen signaled to Lao Tao, 1, 2, 3, get up. Two people helped Mengping stand up. As soon as Mengping's feet touched the ground, he let out an ouch and his whole body collapsed like a ball of mud. His face was ashen, and a layer of cold sweat on his forehead immediately started to flow away. Come down. No, no, help him back, Zhang Chen shouted. The two people almost carried Mengping onto the bed, but still moved him back to his original position, half lying there. Mengping gritted his teeth and breathed heavily. After a long time, he finally calmed down. Zhang Chen asked Mengping, do you still want to pull me? Mengping nodded and said in a weak voice, yes. Zhang Chen and Lao Tao said, give me the urinal. Lao Tao handed the enamel urinal to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen opened the quilt, held the urinal in his right hand, and stuffed it between Mengping's legs. He touched Mengping's guy with his left hand. Mengping turned away. There was a shy look on his face, and his lower body twisted to avoid Zhang Chen's hand. Zhang Chen said to Lao Tao, Old Tao, please turn off the light. Lao Tao walked over and turned off the ceiling light, leaving only the floor lamp, and the light in the room dimmed. Zhang Chen's hand reached into the opening in the front of Mengping's hospital pants and touched Mengping's guy. He was shocked and thought he had touched it wrong. The guy had shrunk to the size of a jujube and had a sharp point. It was sharp. When Zhang Chen caught it, it was still hiding, but after all, its reaction was slow. It trembled and was caught by Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen put the mouth of the urinal on. Mengping's face turned away, and it could be seen that he was holding it in with all his strength. Zhang Chen said, Mengping, pull it. Mengping shook his head, and it was quiet below. With tears in Zhang Chen's eyes, he cursed, Mengping, you are a humming patient now, why are you so stubborn? I will be like this when I am sick. Mengping didn't move or make a sound, and it was still quiet down there. Zhang Chen said, Mengping, if you don't pull it, I will hold it all night. Lao Tao also said, pull, poop, Master Meng, I have been working as a nurse in the hospital for almost 10 years. When someone is sick, he does not poop on the bed. There are also people who poop on their pants. I have to change them several times a day. Zhang Chen said, Mengping, come on, be obedient. Lao Tao is right. You are a patient now. You are not ashamed, you know. Mengping gradually relaxed. After a while, there was a slight squeaking and a few short sounds from below, and then there was no movement. Well done, Mengping, that's it, come on, continue, Zhang Chen said. Mengping shook his head, and Lao Tao said, that's all. Master Zhang, he can only take so much every time he goes to the bathroom. Zhang Chen then took the urinal away, Lao Tao took it and went to the bathroom to empty and clean it. From here on, Mengping never got out of bed, and gradually got used to urinating on the bed. There is no food intake every day, only a little water and milk, and the input of operating fluids, and he has no bowel movements. Zhang Chen asked after an hour or two, Mengping, do you want to pee? No, Mengping shook his head. If he wanted to, he nodded. Lao Tao handed the urinal to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen was already familiar with it and quickly put the urinal in place. He no longer had to wait for a long time. After 20 or 30 seconds, there was a slight squeaking and a few short sounds from below, and then there was no movement. Zhang Chen handed the urinal to Lao Tao and continued talking to Mengping, as if this had never happened. Mengping spoke less and less, and his breathing became more and more rapid. Many times, he had to sit on the bed to feel more comfortable. Only when the doctor just drained the fluid from him did he seem to wake up. It increased, but it couldn't last for half a day, and my chest began to feel tight again. On the 27th day of the new year, Tan Shahen, Xiao Wu, and Lao Tan came again. Tan Shahen was shocked when she saw Meng Ping, and whispered to Zhang Chen, how could Lao Meng lose so much weight in just a few days? Zhang Chen said, how can I not lose weight if I don't have food every day? I am now relying on nutrient solution to maintain my life. Both Tan Shahen and Xiaofang said, either we won't go to Sanya. Zhang Chen said, go ahead. It's okay for you to stay here. Lu Yun and I can stay here. Besides, Li Yang and the others will be on vacation tomorrow and they will all come over. Tan Shahen and Xiaofang wanted to say something else. Zhang Chen sighed and said, there is no possibility of Meng Ping getting better. I have accepted this fact. If we are brothers, I will accompany him to the end. But life will go on. Whatever you should do whatever you want. Lao Tan is right, Zhang Chen is right, Zhen Xiaofang, you listen to Zhang Chen. Tan Shahen and Xiaofang also stopped ringing. At noon, everyone went to the Tuxianjiayuan Hotel for dinner. Chen Yakin said, I will stay here. I have no appetite. You go to the hotel and ask Qianfang and Xiao Dingzi to go with them. After eating, everyone did not go back to the hospital. Tan Shahen said that she wanted to see Lao Meng, but when she did, she felt sad. Zhang Chen said, forget it, I have already seen it today, you can go. Xiaofang also went back to Hangzhou with Tan Shahen and the others. Tomorrow, she and Tan Shahen would lead a large force to Sanya. Zhang Chen and Lu Yun sent Qianfang and Xiao Dingzi back to the hospital without going upstairs again. Lu Yun drove Zhang Chen back in her car. When she got downstairs, Lu Yun saw that Zhang Chen's face was not very good. Lu Yun asked, are you sick? Zhang Chen shook his head, no. Lu Yun said, I will send you up. It's okay, Zhang Chen said, I just didn't sleep much last night. I'll be fine if I get some sleep. Lu Yun got out of the car and said let's go. Anyway, the company is on holiday and I have nothing to do in the afternoon. I can work here. Zhang Chen said yes. The two went upstairs. Zhang Chen went into the room to take a shower and sleep. Lu Yun sat on the sofa, opened her laptop and put it on the coffee table. She bent down and read the email. Zhang Chen was awakened by a rapid knock on the door, and then the door opened. Lu Yun walked in with her cell phone and shouted, the little nail is gone. Zhang Chen jumped up and sat up from the bed. Lu Yun gave him the phone. Zhang Chen called out, and Qianfang's urgent voice came from the phone. Zhang Chen, the little nail is missing. What happened? When I came back earlier, I saw that Chen Yakin was not very comfortable, so I asked her to go back to the hotel to rest. She took little nail with her and left. When they got to the hotel room, Chen Yakin left little nail to play alone. She leaned on the bed and fell asleep. When she woke up, the little nail was gone. Qianfang, don't worry. People as small as nails won't run far away. She must be somewhere in the hotel. Chen Yakin is still looking for her. She has searched all over and can't find it. Qianfang, let's come over right away. Don't tell Meng Ping about this, Zhang Chen shouted. I know. Zhang Chen remembered and said, by the way, Qianfang, I asked Xiaomi to bring someone over first to help us find her. She is very close to your place. Qianfang said yes, let Xiaomi come quickly, I don't dare to leave here. No, Zhang Chen, it's no use if Xiaomi takes people there, they don't know small nails, Lu Yun said from the side, it's better to ask the waiters from Tuxianjiayuan to come over. They have seen small nails. Zhang Chen heard that it made sense. Not only had the waiters at Tuxianjiayuan seen xiao nail, they took turns delivering meals to the hospital every day, and they also knew where Meng Ping's ward was. Zhang Chen returned the phone to Lu Yun, got out of bed, picked up his own phone on the bedside table, and called the general manager of Tuxianjiayuan Hotel. At about 4 o'clock, the waiters had already come to work, and Zhang Chen asked the general manager to bring a few people who know Xiao Nail Yao, divide the troops into 2 groups, and go all the way to Kunlun Hotel to help Chen Yakin find someone. He also went all the way to the hospital and searched there. Zhang Chen judged that Xiao Dingli disappeared at this time and probably wanted to go back to the hospital to see his father. Zhang Chen walked into the bathroom, turned on the faucet, reached for some water, wiped it on his face, walked out, got dressed, and told Lu Yun, "Let's go." Lu Yun drove the car, and Zhang Chen sat restlessly in the passenger seat. He thought to himself, if the little nail disappeared again at this time, how could he tell Meng Ping that even Chen Yakin would probably fall because of it? Lu Yun looked at Zhang Chen, stretched out her hand, patted Zhang Chen, and said comfortingly, "Don't be anxious. How could I not be in a hurry? At this time, you must not be anxious. So many people are relying on you." "Zhang Chen, force yourself to calm down," right away Lu Yun said. Zhang Chen said, "Okay, you are right." Zhang Chen let out a long sigh. "Zhang Chen, call Xiaomi," Lu Yun said. "Why are you looking for her? Hasn't she never seen a small nail?" Zhang Chen said. "She knows a lot of people nearby. Let her go to the police station to call the police first. A person as small as a nail walking alone on the street is too eye-catching. Maybe some enthusiastic citizens will call 110. Zhang Chen said, "Yes, it's better that you are awake and think carefully." Zhang Chen immediately called Xiaomi and told Xiaomi about the matter. Xiaomi agreed that I would go to the police station immediately. Lu Yun shouted from the side, "Xiaomi, you are guarding the police station. It has only been 1 or 2 hours since Xiao Nail disappeared. Logically speaking, it cannot be considered missing. The police station may. I know Director Lu, I will wait there. If there is any movement, I will know it immediately," Xiaomi said. "Yes, Xiaomi, you stay right there. If you have any news, call us right away," Lu Yun said. Thank you to the evergreen Emperor Yan, the mood of reading is different, quadratic VC, 0HJKLG, for the reward of 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you to the evergreen Yan Dottie, book friends 201701052133111538, book friends 20190110118025224314, ZSW, standby time, 55 Hong, Dong Long Dong, Piao Ling Yi May Fly, home cat with the world in mind, book friends 201906061314333385 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1705. When Zhang Chen and the others were about to arrive at the hospital, they saw a large number of people standing at the door. Many of them were wearing the work clothes of Zhang Chen and the Tuxian Jiayuan Hotel. Qian Fang and Chen Yakin were also here. Qian Fang was supporting Chen Yakin, and Chen Yakin was leaning against her. Qian Fang's body was completely lost, her face was blank, her eyes were red, and her tears had long since dried up. Zhang Chen got out of the car before the car stopped, walked over and asked, "How is it?" Qian Fang shook her head, and Chen Yakin shouted to Zhang Chen, "Zhang Chen, my daughter can't be found, what should I do?" Zhang Chen quickly said, don't worry, we'll look for him separately right away." Lu Yun parked her car and walked over. She looked at her watch and said to the general manager of Tuxian Jiayuan Hotel, "The meal is about to start. There are so many of you here. What should we do in the store?" Zhang Chen shouted, "What time has it been? You still care about the store?" Lu Yun ignored him and continued to talk to the general manager. "The others stay and you go back. The less people there are, the more you have to keep an eye on the scene. Also, Xiaomi's place shouldn't be busy now. You call Xiaomi and ask her to send people to your place to help immediately." This way these people will definitely not be able to go back. The general manager said yes, and she looked at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen had nothing to say after hearing Lu Yun's arrangement. He nodded to the general manager, and the general manager left. Lu Yun asked Qian Fang, "Have you searched for hospitals and hotels?" Qian Fang said that they had searched everywhere but there was no one. Lu Yun said, "Little Nails will definitely not get on the bus or taxi." "Why?" Zhang Chen asked. "For such a young person, whether he gets on a bus or a taxi, the driver will be surprised and call 110," Lu Yun said, and Zhang Chen nodded. "Little Nail can only walk on the road. It is very likely that she wanted to come to the hospital, but got lost. She probably won't go far," Lu Yun said. "In our case, everyone will start from Kunlun Hotel, and then start from Kunlun Hotel Grand Hotel, split into several routes and start looking for her. Comparing her speed with ours, she will not be within an hour of our adults' speed. If you can't find her, come back here." Everyone nodded, and Lu Yun started to group the waiters into groups. The first group of 2 people walked from Kunlun Hotel along Huashan Road to Yan'an West Road, and then one walked left and the other right. This area of Yan'an West Road is under the viaduct. It is very open on both sides and there are not many shops. If the small nails are on the road, you should be able to see them, Lu Yun told them. The second group was also 2 people. Lu Yun asked them to walk along Huashan Road to the end, cross Yan'an West Road, and walk to Wanhangde Road on the opposite side. On your own, just walk straight ahead along the main road until you reach Wooding Road, then walk back, and then walk in along Beijing West Road. There are many small alleys along this road, and there are people there, so just look for them one by one." Lu Yun said to them. There are 4 more people. Lu Yun asked them to walk along Huashan Road to Changsha Road, and then from Changsha Road to Huihei Middle Road. When they arrived at Huihei Middle Road, 2 of you also went to the left, 2 to the right, 1 along the street, and the other go to the shopping mall to look for it. The busier the shopping mall, the more careful you have to look. An hour. Walk in your respective directions for an hour. If you don't find it, go back and come back here. Is that clear? Everyone made it clear, took the task and left. Lu Yun and Chen Yakin said, "Go and wait in the ward upstairs. If none of us are here for such a long time, Lao Meng will be suspicious." Chen Yakin shook her head and said that I wanted to find her too. Qian Fang also advised, "You should listen to Lu Yun. If you fall again, we won't know what to do. If there is news, we will call you. You should be optimistic about Lao Meng." Although Chen Yakin was reluctant, she could only do this. Lu Yun lowered her head and was thinking about something. As soon as Chen Yakin left, Lu Yun immediately said to Zhang Chen, "Call Wang Minsheng and see if Little Nails will go to their cake shop." Zhang Chen and Qian Fang's eyes lit up. "Yes, Wang Minsheng's cake shop is not far from here. Little Nails has also been there." Qian Fang shouted, "Zhang Chen, fight!" Zhang Chen was already on the phone and the call was connected. When he told Wang Minsheng about the matter, Wang Minsheng was startled and said quickly, "I will call and ask immediately." After a minute or 2, Wang Minsheng's call came back and told Zhang Chen that there was no one in the store. "Mr. Zhang, the 2 girls in our store no nail. Do you want them to help us find it?" Before Zhang Chen spoke, Lu Yun called out, "If you want it, let them go to Jing'an Park to look for it. Jing'an Park is just over Yan'an West Road. Standing in Chen Yakin's room at the Kunlun Hotel, you can see Jing'an Park diagonally opposite. It is really possible for Little Nail to go there." Lu Yun looked at Zhang Chen and Qian Fang, and finally said what everyone was most worried about but didn't dare to say, that they were human traffickers. Lu Yun told them, "Human traffickers will definitely not dare to go to the high-speed rail station. The train station is also strictly inspected during the Spring Festival. The most likely one is the bus station." Zhang Chen, you go to the South Passenger Transport Station on Chalong Road. Qianfang and I will go there, check the two stations on Zhongshan North Road and Zhongxing Road. If they don't find it, come back here right away and we'll find another way. Zhang Chen said yes and walked away. Lu Yun walked to the guard box at the gate of Huashan Hospital, wrote down a phone number and gave it to the security guards, and told them that if she saw a little girl about 3 years old who was alone, call this number immediately or send her to the back ward. She wrote down Meng Ping's ward number and made sure that several security guards agreed. Then she thanked them and walked out and drove away with Qianfang. Zhang Chen took a taxi to the South bus station. Along the way, he looked carefully outside the car, hoping to see small nails, but until he arrived at the South bus station, he found nothing. Zhang Chen searched in the waiting room and ticket office of the South bus station, and then ran to the parking lot at the back to search. There was no sign of small nails. Zhang Chen found the security guards inside and outside the station, and they issued messages one by one. Cigarettes, asked them, have they seen anyone holding a little girl about 3 years old, who was crying and fussing? The security guards said there was no such thing, but Zhang Chen told them that if there was, they should stop him and ask more, as he might be a human trafficker. Zhang Chen gave his business card to the security guards and told them, if you can find this little girl and call me, I will give you 200,000 yuan. I will keep my promise. When every security guard heard this, they quickly said yes, put Zhang Chen's business card away, and went around to inspect. Zhang Chen took a taxi and it happened to be rush hour. When he returned to the entrance of Huashan Hospital, he saw Chen Yakan, Lu Yun, and Qianfang standing here. Zhang Chen shook his head at them. Chen Yakan started crying again. Lu Yun called Xiaomi and asked her if there was any news from the police station. Xiaomi said no, I am always here, and I will call you immediately if there is news. When the appointed time came, the people who had been sent out came back one after another, but there was no news about little Nail. Lu Yun sighed and said, it looks like the scope of the search will be expanded. Zhang Chen picked up the phone, called Erhuo and asked him, when can our delivery truck enter the city? A small number of them are after 9 o'clock, and the others are after 10 o'clock. Instructor, what's wrong? Erhuo asked. Zhang Chen sighed and said, Meng Ping's daughter can't be found. You're forced to raise me, so why don't you tell me earlier? I'll ask them to go to the city to look for him right away. There will be more than 100 cars there, the second guy said. Aren't you still not allowed to enter the city? Zhang Chen asked. If you are forced to raise a child, you will be photographed and fined at worst. If you are caught by the police, just tell the police directly. The police are also human beings. If you are forced to raise a child, I think they will also have sympathy, the second-hand man shouted. Okay, let them set off immediately, Zhang Chen said. Wait, Lu Yun shouted, with so many people coming out, do they know who to look for? Do they know little Nail? Zhang Chen was stunned. Lu Yun asked Chen Yakan, do you have any photos of small nails in your phone? Chen Yakan nodded repeatedly. Lu Yun took Zhang Chen's mobile phone and said to the second-hand guy, I will send you the photo of the small nail right away. You print it out and send it to the driver, and ask them to take the photo and set off immediately. The second-rate goods agreed. You will also send it to Wu Zayawai, who is forced to raise it, and I will ask their couriers to go out and look for it. Lu Yun said yes, smart, second rate. As they were talking, a city management car drove to the gate and stopped. The door opened. Chen Yakan's eyes lit up and she shouted, little nails. Zhang Chen and the others quickly turned around and saw two urban management team members getting out of the car. Xiao Dingzi was sitting in the car and saw Chen Yakan shouting, Mom, Mom. Chen Yakan rushed over and took her out of the car. Hug it out. The urban management told them, and Zhang Chen and the others found out that when they patrolled Wanhangde Road around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they saw little Nail standing on the roadside crying. There was no adult nearby. They immediately realized this is a lost child. They carried little Nail to the car. At this time, little Nail was completely frightened. She didn't know anything they asked her. The city manager asked her if she was hungry, and she said yes. The city manager went to a nearby store and bought bread and Wangzhe milk for her to eat. After finishing a piece of bread, she seemed to come to her senses and told the city manager that she was here looking for her father. She asked her where he was, and she said he was in the hospital. I asked her which hospital it was from, but she didn't know. Two urban management team members determined that there were two large hospitals nearby, one was Donghua Hospital, and the other was Huashan Hospital next door. They saw her on Wanhangda Road on the other side of Yan'an West Road, and decided to start from there. I started looking for him at Donghua Hospital on the west side of Yan'an Road. They drove to Donghua Hospital, and Xiao Dingzi was confused again. It was also because the hospital gave people the same feeling. She said for a while that it was here, and then said it wasn't. When asked what her father's name was, she said it was Lao Meng, Xiao Dingzi. His Mandarin was not standard and he spoke vaguely. Even the city management and security guards heard it as. The security took them to the administrative department of the hospital. The administrative department said that there was indeed a doctor named Mu in their hematology department. I didn't know if it was his daughter. They went to the hematology department and found Dr. Mu. Dr. Mu was not even married. The knot must be wrong. At this time, Xiao Neza told them that their father was lying in bed every day. Only then did everyone realize that he was not a doctor, but a patient in the hospital. However, they looked through the list of inpatients and could not find anyone with the surname Mu. There is no other way. The people from the urban management and administrative departments can only search wards one by one with small nails. They searched all the wards but couldn't find him. They confirmed that her father was not in Donghua Hospital. They then left Donghua Hospital and were going to continue searching at the Huashan Hospital next door. If they couldn't find him, they had to send him to the police station. Zhang Chen held the city manager's hand and said thank you, thank you. If you hadn't met her and taken her to the car, I don't know what danger she would have encountered. Lu Yun and Qian Fang also said yes, yes, thank you very much. Chen Yakin hugged the little nail and cried non-stop, almost fainting from crying. Chen Yakin said, little nail, if you can't find it, my mother will not be able to survive. The other people looked on and felt sad. Qian Fang and Chen Yakin said, thankfully the city management found him with help. It's okay. Chen Yakin turned around and was about to kneel down in front of the two urban management officials. They quickly supported her and said they didn't dare. Zhang Chen and the urban management team asked them to help find someone, but now they haven't even had dinner, right? I'll treat you to dinner. The urban management officer quickly said no, 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 really no. Zhang Chen looked around and whispered to Lu Yun not to let them go. Lu Yun nodded. Zhang Chen ran to the store in front of the hospital and bought 4 cartons of Zonghua cigarettes. He wanted to give them to 2 urban management officials, but the urban management officials refused and said they really couldn't accept them. Lu Yun said to them, if you don't accept it, I will kneel down for you. The 2 of them were shocked when they heard this. Qian Fang said yes, I will kneel down for you too. The 2 urban management officials looked at each other and could only say, okay, we'll accept it, thank you. Zhang Chen gave them the cigarettes and said to them, we should be the ones thanking you. After the urban management left, Zhang Chen asked the waiters to go back to the hotel. Several of them were holding small nails and were about to walk inside when they heard someone shouting, little nail. Looking back, it was Su Jiaking, Li Yang, Ya Yulan, Cao Ziahe and Yuan Yuan who arrived. They received a call from Qian Fang in the afternoon. They heard that the small nail was missing, so they rushed over from Nanjing immediately. They didn't know if they were speeding along the way. How many times have you violated the rules? Su Jiaking hugged the small nail and burst into tears. As soon as she cried, Chen Yakin and several other women started crying again. Thank you for your time and monthly tickets to It's Not Impossible, Hu, Ba Liang, and How. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1706. Qian Fang and his company had a holiday. Su Jiaking, Ya Yulan and Cao Ziahe, plus Li Yang and Yuan, decided not to go anywhere this year, but to go to Shanghai and spend the holiday with Meng Ping in the hospital. Qian Fang, Su Jiaking, Ya Yulan, and Cao Ziahe followed Meng Ping from Haikan to Wuxi, and from Wuxi to Nanjing. After that, they had no place to follow. They had the same thoughts as Zhang Chen. They felt that no matter what, they would not be able to do anything. I want to accompany Lao Meng and walk the last part of his journey. There is no New Year's Eve this year. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve, the 29th of next year. Zhang Chen went to discuss with Dean Wu whether they could have New Year's Eve dinner with Meng Ping in the ward. Meng Ping could no longer eat, but on the side it's also good to come up and have a look, smell the smell, taste the soup, and most importantly, just have some fun together. Dean Wu said yes, please be careful not to make too much noise that affects other people in the hospital. Zhang Chen nodded and said yes. Zhang Chen called Hui Huan and told her the matter, asking her to help arrange a menu and hand it over to Tuxianjiayuan Hotel. Hui Huan said no, I will come over tonight and do it myself tomorrow. Zhang Chen said, you can just arrange for the chef to do it. Hui Huan shook her head and said, I will make Brother Meng's last New Year's Eve dinner myself. Ask Brother Meng what he likes to eat. Zhang Chen couldn't bear to tell Hui Huan that Meng Ping actually couldn't eat anything. Zhang Chen said, it's your arrangement. Meng Ping likes to eat whatever you cook. Starting from Hui Huan local vegetable restaurant, Hui Huan, let's have New Year's Eve dinner together tomorrow. Hui Huan choked up and said yes, if you don't call me, I will come to accompany Brother Meng. At night, Li Yang and Zhang Chen said, you go back and rest. I will be here tonight. Zhang Chen shook his head and said, I am also here to accompany you. Zhang Chen had a very bad premonition. He always felt that Meng Ping would leave at any time, and he firmly believed that when a person leaves this world, the chance of leaving this world is higher at night than during the day. He cannot miss every night of Meng Ping. Li Yang nodded and said okay, then we are all here. Meng Ping wore an oxygen mask and breathed oxygen. Many times, he felt stuffy, but he got confused and mistakenly thought that it was because he was wearing this mask that he couldn't breathe. He reached out and took off the oxygen mask himself. Zhang Chen, Li Yang and Li Yang could only help him put it on again. After a while, Meng Ping would take it off again. The nurse, Lao Tao, lives in Kedong, Jiangsu province. He went home to have New Year's Eve dinner. Before leaving, he told Zhang Chen that he would definitely come back at noon tomorrow. Zhang Chen told him, don't worry. Tomorrow is the first day of the Lunar New Year, so you can just stay at home. There are so many of us here, so you can stay at home for 2 days before coming back. Lao Tao shook his head. He looked at Meng Ping on the bed, pulled Zhang Chen aside, and whispered to him, it can be seen that Master Meng has only a few days left. You don't know how to deal with it, so you can't just pull him like this. For those who are going to the funeral parlor, I have prepared the clothes, quilt, and hat for Master Meng. I want them there. Zhang Chen said yes, thank you Master Tao. In the second half of the night, Meng Ping suddenly sat up. He seemed to be much more awake. He was muttering and gesturing with his hands. Zhang Chen and Li Yang hurried over. Zhang Chen asked, Meng Ping, what do you want to say? Meng Ping looked at them, but his eyes passed through them, looking at somewhere far away, still muttering to himself. Jiang Chen shouted, "Meng Ping, Meng Ping." Meng Ping waved his hand impatiently, as if to prevent Jiang Chen from interrupting him. Two people began to appear in his voice, one asking questions and the other answering. Li Yang listened carefully, and he said to Jiang Chen, "Lao Meng is speaking Wuxi dialect." Meng Ping talked like this for 5 or 6 minutes. Finally, he let out a long sigh, fell down, and lay there quietly. Jiang Chen and Li Yang looked at each other, both wondering if Meng Ping would just die. Jiang Chen stretched out his hand to hold Meng Ping's wrist and sighed. Meng Ping's body temperature and pulse were still there. Jiang Chen looked at Li Yang, shaked his head. Meng Ping suddenly reached out and pulled off the oxygen mask, and screamed, "Ouch, ouch." Jiang Chen held his hand and called Li Yang, "Go and call the doctor." Li Yang ran out quickly, and soon the doctors and nurses came in. After the doctor checked, he said to Jiang Chen, "It's okay, it just hurts. I can't bear it anymore. Logically speaking, he will scream all night. He can endure it too well." The doctor and nurse said, "Give him a painkiller shot." After the analgesic injection, Meng Ping gradually calmed down and his breathing became even. Jiang Chen and Li Yang stretched their heads to see that he had fallen asleep. Jiang Chen and Li Yang walked to the sofa and sat down. Li Yang and Jiang Chen said, "What Lao Meng was talking about earlier seems to be about Shaoxing people." Jiang Chen nodded, "I'm really worried about this. By the way, how is your contact with Asia Pacific business building? There are many people who want it, and we have already identified one." Li Yang said, "After the Chinese New Year, you can sign the agreement when you go to work." Jiang Chen said, "You have to act quickly, preferably while Meng Ping is still awake." "It's okay," Li Yang said, "he doesn't need to sign. The corporate seal is with Yayulan. Just stamp it." "What if he is no longer here? Is the corporate seal still valid?" Jiang Chen asked. Li Yang was stunned for a moment and said, "This is really good. I'll contact you tomorrow and see if I can sign it in the next 2 days." Jiang Chen agreed that in this case, he could show Meng Ping the signed transfer agreement to reassure him, otherwise this guy might really die in peace. Li Yang nodded and said yes. Not only Jiang Chen, but all of them had accepted the fact that Meng Ping was leaving. After accepting this fact, they seemed not to be in so much pain, and could instead start to talk about Meng Ping's death calmly. Jiang Chen and Chen Yakin said that seeing Meng Ping in so much pain and struggling every day, maybe leaving early would be a relief for him. The next morning, when Jiang Chen was about to return from the hospital, he called Hui Huan. Hui Huan told him that she had already made preparations in the hotel. Jiang Chen said, "Okay, then I'll go back and take a nap, and then I'll go over to your place to have a look in the afternoon." Hui Huan said, "Yeah, go to bed quickly." Tuxianjiayuan Hotel also prepares New Year's Eve dinner. The entire kitchen has been busy since the morning. Hui Huan occupied the workbench and walked in the corner of the kitchen, shedding tears while preparing. The hotel's general manager he came over and asked her what was wrong. Hui Huan shook her head and said it was nothing. "Boss, do you also know Mr. Meng?" the general manager asked. "We know each other, we have known each other for a long time," Hui Huan said, and the general manager understood. Liu Bang, the great ancestor of the Han dynasty, returned to Taipei, and Wang Minsheng was still in the mainland. Liu Bang, the great ancestor of the Han dynasty, and Wang Minsheng said, "You can help me see off Lao Meng. I may not be in a hurry." Wang Minsheng said yes. Minsheng also rushed to Shanghai from Hangzhou. While Hui Huan was preparing the New Year's Eve dinner, Minsheng was also in their cake shop, preparing 2 cakes, one big and one small. The big one was for everyone, and the small one was for little Nails. At about 1 o'clock, Lu Yun went downstairs to Jiang Chen and called him to ask if he was up. Jiang Chen said, "I will come down." Jiang Chen went downstairs, and the two of them went to the Tuxianjiayuan hotel first. Huihuan was already ready. She told Zhang Chen that she would wait for the fire to start and send her there on time at 4 o'clock. Zhang Chen nodded. There are a lot of people tonight, so I've asked someone to send over the tableware and a big round table, Huihuan told Zhang Chen, and Zhang Chen agreed. Zhang Chen and Lu Yun then went to the hospital. When they entered the door, they saw a festive atmosphere inside. Several women rearranged the room and bought a lot of flowers. The sofa and coffee table were moved to the innermost area, closer to the hospital. There was a large round table on Meng Ping's hospital bed. Huihuan specially sent a waiter over and the table had been set. Today's tablecloth and napkin are both red, and flowers folded from the napkin are placed on the white bone plate. When Yuan came, Zhang Chen saw that Little Nail had almost become her follower. She followed Yuan wherever she went, and even imitated Yuan's way of talking. Meng Ping sat there, looking at them and smiling. Li Yang saw Zhang Chen and walked over to him and told him that it had been agreed that the agreement would be signed on the third day of the new year. Xiao and I would go to Nanjing and bring the agreement back after signing it. Zhang Chen said yes. At around 3 o'clock, the nurse came over to drain Meng Ping's fluid and gave him a pain-relieving injection. Chen Yakin helped him shave, which made him look much more energetic today. At 4 o'clock, Wang Minsheng came with cakes. Little Nail screamed when he saw them. Huihuan also drove a car and brought 2 waiters to deliver the dishes. Soon, the table was full. The happiest person in the entire ward was Xiao Nali. She had probably never spent the Chinese New Year with so many people, and she didn't know that her father was about to leave her. Zhang Chen said, "Since everyone is here, let's start early." He shook up Meng Ping's bed and stuffed pillows and quilts behind him to make him comfortable. Everyone also took their seats. For the first cup, everyone wished each other a happy new year. Chen Yakin wanted to help Meng Ping lift his cup, but Meng Ping insisted on doing it himself. He tremblingly picked up the cup and raised it, then brought the cup to his lips and touched it. Then let it go. He moved very slowly, and everyone was waiting for him. When he put down the cup, instead of wishing each other a happy new year, everyone was respecting Lao Meng. After this round of respect, Yuan stood up, walked over and said, "Uncle Meng, I respect you." When Little Nail saw it, she was no less respectful. Yuan waved to her and said, "Come here." Little Nail walked over with the cup and stood with Yuan. Yuan raised the cup and said, "Happy New Year to Uncle Meng." Little Nail followed and said, "Happy New Year to Uncle Meng." Everyone laughed, including Meng Ping. Meng Ping looked both ways, then looked at Qian Fang. Qian Fang understood and quickly took out 2 red envelopes from the bag and gave them to Meng Ping. Meng Ping gave them to Yuan and Xiaodian. Yuan said thank you, uncle, and started crying while holding the red envelope. Su Jiaking shouted, Yuan, everyone is so happy, why are you crying? Yuan went to sit on the sofa inside and continued to cry. Cao Ziahe shook his head and said to Su Jiaking, let her go. Yuan has told her so many times. She said that her father never gave her New Year's money since she was a child. Only Uncle Meng Ping gave her every year. Lucky money for her. Little Nail held up the red envelope and said to Cao Ziahe, Auntie, my dad gives me lucky money every year. Cao Ziahe nodded with red eyes, and Chen Yakin hugged the Little Nail and burst into tears. Thank you LW. Norvi, Tamagotchi, and PCM600812 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1707. On the afternoon of the first day of the new year, Lao Tao came back. He was very happy to see Meng Ping and told Zhang Chen that Master Meng is getting better. Really, I have been in the hospital for so long. I can tell that Master Meng is really well. Woke up. Zhang Chen believes what he said. In this regard, he can be said to have read countless people, and the people he has read are all people who are on the line of life and death. In this regard, he is the natural authority, even more powerful than all instruments and doctors, but also authority. At the same time, Zhang Chen also felt sad in his heart. Even if he gets better, what can he do? Since his fate is irreversible, everything is just an interlude, just a wave. Just like that night, Meng Ping could still sit up, seemingly conscious. He murmured for a long time like Wuxi dialect. This night was still uneventful. Lao Tao, Zhang Chen, and Li Yang were in the ward, taking turns looking at Meng Ping. When he took off his oxygen mask, he immediately helped him put it back on until it was dark outside. Meng Ping stopped taking off the oxygen mask and finally fell asleep. Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief, feeling that another day had passed for Meng Ping. No, Zhang Chen remembered that another year had passed. The daytime in the second grade of junior high school was lively. There were so many women in the room, and everyone took turns trying to make Meng Ping happy. Although for Meng Ping, all the expressions in this world had been removed, but listening to these familiar chatter in his ears, the sound could at least let him know that he was still alive in this world. Zhang Chen wanted to see Meng Ping off, so he stayed in the ward as long as possible. He no longer went to the hospital after dinner every day, but hurried home early in the morning, took a shower, and took 3 or 4 supplements. After sleeping for an hour, I went to the hospital at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. After the company holiday, Lu Yun became Zhang Chen's full-time driver. She picked him up at the hospital every morning and took him back to the hospital in the afternoon. Zhang Chen felt very sorry. He said, "In fact, you don't need to work so hard. I can drive myself." Lu Yun held the steering wheel with her hands and looked into the distance. "No, you are in a trance and it is not safe." After a pause, he added, "Anyway, on days like this, there are no traffic jams on the road. Shanghai is like another Shanghai." After sending Zhang Chen home, Lu Yun followed. Zhang Chen took a bath and went to bed, but Lu Yun would not leave. She sat on the sofa and worked for a while, then got up to prepare lunch. When Zhang Chen woke up, the dishes were already placed on the dining table. Zhang Chen looked at Lu Yun and said thank you. Lu Yun always defended herself by saying, "If I don't take good care of you, Yao Mei will settle the score with me when she comes back. She repeatedly asked me to promise that she will take good care of you." The two of them smiled, sat down to eat, cleaned up, and went to the hospital. In fact, Zhang Chen could have stayed in a hotel next to the hospital just like Qian Fang and the others. But he enjoyed the feeling of going back and forth. He looked out the window greedily, sometimes with squinted eyes, but he still looked out the window and was reluctant to fall asleep. He had never been as interested in a city and the scenery outside the car window as he was now. He was so obsessed with everything. Looking out the window at Shanghai, which was much quieter, he still had a solid feeling in his heart that the world was still there. The whole night, he sat on Meng Ping's bedside and watched him breathing under the oxygen mask. Death seemed to be something that could be touched with his hands. It was so close that Zhang Chen felt that he could smell its breath. The moment he stood up or sat down, lowered his head or turned around, death could come at any time and take Meng Ping away gently and skillfully. It was from this moment that Zhang Chen began to feel that life is so fragile. It is more fragile than a withered and curled leaf, which can turn into powder with a click, and death is not absolute, but has differences, such as Meng Ping's was different from him or Li Yang and Lao Tao. Zhang Chen was walking on the edge of life and death, but that was Meng Ping's edge of life and death. It's not his, nor Li Yang's or Lao Tao's. Only Meng Ping's death is so close, so unavoidable and irresistible. That's unique to Meng Ping. For them, death is still far away, even if it's so close. This building will be hit by missiles and collapsed by earthquakes, but they are still on their way here. Meng Ping will still be more fragile than them, more unprovoked, and for no reason, he will leave. Throughout the night, Jiang Chen looked at Meng Ping, immersed in the imagination and thinking of life and death. This made him feel very tired. Yes, he was also in a trance. He felt like he was about to drown. What was happening outside the car window? The city pulled him back and let him breathe. Jiang Chen enjoyed it very much. As for Lu Yun, she was also happy with this daily return. Jiang Chen, who was sitting in the passenger seat, looked as if he was dripping wet and had just been fished out of the water by her. His whole body was limp. He looks a little distressed, and you have the urge to hug him into your arms. They hardly talked along the way. Jiang Chen kept looking out the window. When he looked out the window, he looked a little sad and blue. Lu Yun knew that this was because of Meng Ping, but it didn't seem to be all. His sadness was a lot sometimes, it seems to be innate, with no specific reason. This is temperament, right? Lu Yun likes men with such temperament. She hopes that the road ahead has no end and can keep going like this. Lu Yun turns to look at Jiang Chen. Sometimes she reaches out her hand, pats his hand gently, or holds it. His hand. Jiang Chen's hand was very obedient at this time, lying so quietly in her hand, just like him, sitting there quietly, looking out the window. Sometimes Lu Yun was in a trance. She felt that Jiang Chen's hand was really like a shrunken whole person. When he was lying in her hand, it was like lying in her arms. The outside world is neither humble nor overbearing. After the crowds are sparse, Shanghai looks calm and unhurried, and Lu Yun drives calmly. At around 7 o'clock in the evening of the second grade of junior high school, after the others who had been in the ward for a day left, Lu Yun did not leave. She said she wanted to stay a little longer. Apart from Meng Ping, there were only 3 people left in the ward, Jiang Chen, Lu Yun, and Lao Tao. Li Yang had to go back to Nanjing with Ye Yulan to sign an agreement the next day, and he wanted to drive, so Jiang Chen asked him to come with them. Gone. Lu Yun and Lao Tao said, "Master Tao, please, can you go out and play for a while?" Lao Tao understood that this was asking him to avoid what they wanted to discuss. Lao Tao said okay, closed the door and walked out, going downstairs to the ward where the fellow was nursing, to chat with the fellow. After Lao Tao left, Lu Yun didn't say anything to Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen felt a little strange, but he didn't ask. At around 8 o'clock, someone knocked on the door. Lu Yun said please come in. The door opened, and a stranger in his 30s walked in quickly. He walked around the ward, looked at Meng Ping on the bed, and then looking at Jiang Chen and Lu Yun, they walked out without saying a word. Before he could reach the door, another person walked in. Jiang Chen was surprised and stood up quickly. The man who walked in was Li Yang. The person who came in before walked out, closed the door, and stood outside. Li Yang called, "Jiang Chen, sister." Jiang Chen was still a little stunned. Lu Yun nodded and shouted, "Yangzi." Jiang Chen looked at Li Yang and Lu Yun and understood. It turned out that Lu Yun had known that Li Yang would come in the evening, so he pushed Lao Tao away. Li Yang called Lu Yun and said that he was in Shanghai today and would go to the hospital to see Meng Ping in the evening. He hoped to see Lu Yun there. This time, Lu Yun did not refuse. She felt that this might be the best time she and Li Yang met. It was a good occasion and place. Li Yang went to the hospital to see an old friend. No matter who he met by chance in the ward, it was a normal thing and no one would think much about it. Li Yang hugged Jiang Chen and Lu Yun, then walked to Meng Ping's bedside and sat down on the bedside. Li Yang reached out and held Meng Ping's hand, calling softly, "Lao Meng, Lao Meng." Meng Ping opened his eyes, looked at Li Yong, and said in a weak voice, "Are you here?" Come here, Li Yong said, "You, Lao Meng, are in hospital. I have to come and see you no matter what. I also want to drink with you." Meng Ping smiled and said, "I can't drink anymore." Li Yong originally wanted to say, "Nonsense, when you get better, we can still drink." He himself felt that this was too hypocritical. Li Yong said, "It doesn't matter, there are still memories, Lao Meng. These days I often think of our days in Haikan. We were wild, and high-spirited, and just thought, it's so damn good to be young." Meng Ping nodded and said, "It's great to be young." Li Yong wanted to say something more, but felt that nothing could be said. He held Meng Ping's hand and shook it, choking. A tear also rolled down from the corner of Meng Ping's eye. Lu Yun walked over, took out a tissue, wiped the tears from the corners of Meng Ping's eyes, took out another tissue, wiped it for Li Yong, and cursed. "Don't be ashamed, you are such an adult and still crying. I want you to take care of it. This is Lao Meng. Whatever Lao Meng and I do together is normal." "Lao Meng, are you right?" Li Yong said. Meng Ping nodded. The three people gathered around Meng Ping's hospital bed and talked for more than half an hour. Li Yong looked at his watch and said, "I have to leave. I have to meet two people when I return to the hotel." Li Yong patted Meng Ping's hand and said to him, "Old Meng, take good care of yourself. I will come see you again after a while." Meng Ping shook his head and said, "No, thank you, I can't see it anymore." "Nonsense, who said you can't see it?" Li Yong finally said something against his will. Lu Yun and Li Yong hugged again at the door, and Lu Yun said, "Damn fat man, be fine." Li Yong nodded and said, "I understand, sister." Li Yong opened the door and went out. Zhang Chen sent them downstairs, but Lu Yun did not follow. They arrived at the downstairs of the inpatient department. There was an Audi parked at the door. There was a person standing next to the car. Zhang Chen and Li Yong walked over. The man quickly opened the car door, but Li Yong did not get in the car, but walked outside. Looking around the garden, he saw a terrazzo chair. Li Yong said, "Come on, let's go sit there." Zhang Chen followed Li Yong and sat down on the chair. The person who walked into the ward in front also followed him, but he did not come closer. Instead, he stopped 7 or 8 meters away from them. The three of them were like this, standing and sitting two at a time, in the cold wind outside. Li Yong sighed and said to Zhang Chen, "I said earlier that it's good to be young, and it's really not perfunctory. Last year, I sent away 2 old colleagues who were about the same age as us. At that time, I was a little shocked. I felt unimaginable. I didn't expect that at the end of the year, something happened to Lao Meng, and when everyone around him left one by one, I felt that I was really old." Zhang Chen nodded. Li Yong said, "When I was young, I never had this feeling. Death was a word we talked about casually. At that time, death was like a joke. How could we take it seriously?" Zhang Chen said, "I had this feeling last year. Last year, I invited some old colleagues from the theater company to have dinner. As soon as we sat down, everyone was talking to each other about the 3 highs. After the meal, we didn't leave. After passing my body, I had a feeling at that time, this is not drinking at all, it is completely like a sunset dinner for the elderly." Li Yong laughed and said, "Is it true that you can't drink this, and you can't drink that?" Zhang Chen was right. When I was young, I didn't care about this. When I was young, I would pour sangiovita into wine and drink it together when I had stomach problems. "Yes, that's it," Li Yong said. They sat outside for more than 10 minutes. The man took a few steps closer and reminded Li Yong, "Chief, it's cold outside, or you can go to the car and talk." Li Yong looked at Zhang Chen, and the two of them laughed in unison. Li Yong said, Did you see that when I was young, even if I was rolling in the snow, no one would think anything. Following these words, he actually reminded Li Yong that the time was up. Li Yong stood up and said, "Let's go, Zhang Chen." Zhang Chen sent Li Yong to the car. Li Yong held his hand and said to him, "Zhang Chen, see Lao Meng off for me." Zhang Chen said yes. Thank you for the reward of the feeling of reading is different, quadratic VC, Zenkishan, third ranked from top to bottom, reading books every day, Dal Tin Soldier, 1 up and 1 down 2 fishes, and 2 fishes at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Thank you for your monthly votes for reading, the mood is different, Baby Tin Soldier, Juju, books are a packet of medicine, Tamagotchi, Taizong Shang 1, Wooden Man, Lao Shenza Sang, and Book Friends 201808030256355047. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1708. On the day of the third grade of junior high school, many people suddenly came to the ward. Meng Ping's sister and brother-in-law came from Wuxi. In the afternoon, Tan Shahen and Xiao Fang showed up with a large group of people. Zhang Chen was frightened. "Jump and ask. Why are you back from Sanya?" Tan Shahen looked at Zhang Chen and smiled bitterly, "The pressure is too great. If we don't come again, Xiao Fang and I will be scolded to death by them." Lao Zhang saw Zhang Chen and glared at him. Zhang Chen's mother scolded from the side, "Chen Chen, you are so shameless. You didn't tell us about such a big thing as Meng Ping being hospitalized." Xiaoshu and Yao Fen said, "We don't know." Xiang Nan snorted, "Don't tell me either." Teacher Tan and Zhang Chen said, "Zhang Chen, you really didn't do this well. What did Meng Ping say? We have also had dinner together for so many years. What do you mean by sending us to Sanya? We understand. Can you still eat?" Tan Shahen spread her hands and said, "See, we have no choice but to bring them directly from Sanya to Shanghai." Zhang Chen quickly raised his hand and said, "I was wrong, I was wrong." A large group of old people surrounded Meng Ping, and several old ladies had red eyes. From Meng Ping's current situation, they all saw that Meng Ping's days were numbered. When he walked to the sofa and sat down, Lao Lu sighed softly and said, "Oh, this damn guy is not dead. He is not damned, why is he going to die?" Zhuangzi's mother glanced at him and said, "You finally said something humane." Xiongnan walked to Meng Ping's bedside and said to him with tears in his eyes, "Uncle Meng, you need to get better." Meng Ping looked at her and said with difficulty, "Xiang Nan, you are so tall and beautiful. Uncle Meng, when you get better, I'll invite you to our show." Meng Ping nodded and said yes. The happiest thing was little Nail. She saw that among so many people, there were finally children younger than her, namely the children of Xiaoshu and Yao Fen, Xiao and Su Qiaoxin, and there were also some older ones than her, the second-rate ones. His son Xiao Gilu. Several children quickly started playing together. Everyone was settled in the Kunlun Hotel. In the evening, after dinner, they came over to see Meng Ping in 2s and 3s. They came and went, and there was no one in the ward. Li Yang and Ye Yulan also came back. Li Yang unfolded the signed transfer agreement and showed it to Meng Ping. Meng Ping nodded and twitched the corner of his mouth. At night, there were many people accompanying her in the ward. Zhang Chen, Li Yang, Huo, and Xiao Wu were all in the ward and refused to leave. However, even Huo didn't mention the late-night snack. Zhang Chen sat on the edge of Meng Ping's bed and watched over him, driving everyone else to the sofa to chat. At about 12 o'clock, Meng Ping suddenly took off his oxygen mask. Zhang Chen wanted to put it back on. Meng Ping kept shaking his head, trying hard to keep his eyes open. His eyeballs protruded and his eyelids turned up. Then, soon, all he saw in his eyes were the whites of his eyes. Jiang Chen was startled, grabbed Meng Ping's hand and shouted, Meng Ping, Meng Ping. Everyone on the sofa gathered around, and Lao Tao also got up from the folding bed, ran over, took one look and shouted, no, Master Meng is leaving. Jiang Chen shouted to Li Yang, call Chen Yakin quickly. This is to let her take one last look. Xiao Wu had already run out to call the doctor. Before the doctor and Chen Yakin arrived, Meng Ping's neck suddenly stiffened, and there was a growl in his throat. Jiang Chen heard Meng Ping sigh deeply. Jiang Chen shouted, Meng Ping Meng Ping. Huo and Li Yang also shouted, Lao Meng, Lao Meng. The doctor and nurse walked in quickly. The doctor held Meng Ping's other hand and took his pulse. He put the stethoscope on Meng Ping's chest to listen. Jiang Chen looked at him and the doctor shook his head. The nurse asked, Dr. Wang, do you want more? The doctor shook his head again and said, no need. He looked at his watch and said to the nurse, record it, 12:29. The second-rate guy squatted on the ground and started to cry. Lao Tao sighed and said to Jiang Chen and others, Master Meng is also happy. So many people came to see him off today. The nurse put away the oxygen mask and everything else, and the doctor said to Lao Tao, leave it to you. Lao Tao nodded. The doctors and nurses went out, and Lao Tao and Jiang Chen said, help me, wipe Master Meng clean and change his clothes while he's still cold. Jiang Chen said yes, and Xiao Wu said, I will also come to help. Please help me get a basin of warm water and bring a clean towel from the cabinet, Lao Tao said. He opened the quilt and used scissors to cut off Meng Ping's patient clothes. Jiang Chen burst into tears and saw the skinny and emaciated Meng Ping on the bed. Lao Tao dipped a towel in warm water and wiped him. Jiang Chen and Xiao Wu helped him turn over. Lao Tao muttered something. Master Meng, so many friends are here to see you off, so just go happily. There was a commotion in the corridor. Jiang Chen and Li Yang said, go and stop them. Then let Chen Yakin in alone and tell them that Meng Ping has left. Li Yang ran outside the door. Jiang Chen and Lao Tao said, Master Tao, wait a moment. Lao Tao stopped and Jiang Chen covered Meng Ping with the quilt. Chen Yakin rushed in, threw herself on Meng Ping and started crying. There were also cries in the corridor outside. Lao Tao walked to Jiang Chen and whispered to him, hurry up, it will get hard later and the clothes will be difficult to wear. Jiang Chen nodded, walked over, pulled Chen Yakin up, and said to her, Chen Yakin, go and take a look. Meng Ping usually likes to wear those clothes. Jiang Chen half pushed and half pulled Chen Yakin to the cabinet. Chen Yakin took out a pack of clothes that had been prepared for a long time. Jiang Chen kicked the second-rate guy who was still squatting there crying and said to him, you accompany Chen Yakin to wait outside. Huo stood up and helped Chen Yakin out. Jiang Chen went back with the clothes. The three of them helped Meng Ping put on his clothes, pants, socks, and shoes. Lao Tao then took out a set of shrouds and hats from the cabinet. Jiang Chen looked at these things a little funny. Lao Tao said. Master Tao, no need. Meng Ping doesn't believe this either, so that's all. Lao Tao shook his head and said, no, there are rules in the world, and there are rules in the underworld. If Master Meng goes like this, he will be bullied by them. Jiang Chen stopped talking immediately. Who knows the rules of the underworld, but at this time, people become superstitious and feel that they would rather believe what they have or not, as long as Meng Ping is not bullied. The three people then helped Meng Ping put on the shroud. Lao Tao took a thin red quilt, wrapped Meng Ping well, and tied it tightly with the top, middle, and bottom ribbons. Then they put on the longevity hat and tied the laces, and the three of them arranged Meng Ping on the bed. Jiang Chen looked a little weird at this image, and still wanted to cover Meng Ping with a quilt. Lao Tao said, you can't cover him. Master Meng won't be able to walk if he covers him. Jiang Chen stopped quickly, as if Meng Ping really couldn't walk anymore. Lao Tao and Xiao Wu said, okay, Let them come in and take a look. Everyone in the corridor came in, and everyone was crying around Meng Ping. Xiao Dingzi saw so many people crying, and then looked at her father lying there motionless. She didn't know what happened, and she wanted to cry too. Little Giluan said to her, "Shh, your dad is asleep, don't disturb him." Little Nail quickly shut up, but after holding it in for 2 or 3 minutes, he finally burst into tears. Zhang Chen and the other men all retreated to the back. Lao Tao asked Zhang Chen, had the funeral home been called? Li Yang said, the nurse has already done it. Lao Tao nodded. Zhang Chen asked Lao Tao, is this all right? Lao Tao said, okay, let's wait for the funeral home's car to arrive. More than half an hour later, 2 staff from the funeral home arrived pushing a stainless steel stretcher cart. Regardless of the people inside still crying around Meng Ping, they shouted, "Give me, let me." The crying people didn't know what was going on, so they got out of the way. 2 people carried Meng Ping onto the stretcher and were about to go outside. Qian Fang shivered and shouted, "Where are you taking him?" The staff of the funeral home rolled her eyes, and Lao Tao quickly said, "Go to the funeral home, go to the funeral home. When people leave, they have to be sent to the funeral home." Chen Yakin cried and chased after her. Lao Tao and Qian Fang said, "Quickly go and stop the family members." Qian Fang woke up and hugged Chen Yakin from behind. The staff of the funeral home pushed the cart toward the freight elevator at the top of the corridor under the watchful eyes of many people coming out of the many doors on both sides. Zhang Chen and Li Yang followed. After entering the elevator, the 2 people looked at Zhang Chen and Li Yang, and then at each other. They seemed to be wondering, why are these 2 people following? On the first floor, at the side door of the building, a funeral parlor's van was parked there. Even the van had been backed up and the rear of the van was back toward the door. One of the 2 people opened the rear door. Inside was an iron cabinet. They put Meng Ping in it. He pushed the iron cabinet, then put the stretcher cart away and stuffed it into the carriage. With a bang sound, the car door was closed. The 2 of them were very skilled in all their movements, and every step was very fast, without even saying a word. Zhang Chen asked, "Is this all right?" One of them looked at him and asked, "How?" Zhang Chen asked, "Where to send him?" Another said, "Where to go?" "It's frozen in the cold storage." The 2 people got into the car and were about to leave. Zhang Chen chased after them and asked, "Are we following you?" The other party was confused when asked, "What are you doing in the middle of the night?" "During work time tomorrow, take the death certificate from the hospital and go to our lobby to sign the contract and set the cremation time." Li Yang asked, "Which funeral home?" The driver stretched out his hand and knocked on the door, "Longhua." The car started and drove away. Zhang Chen stood there blankly. He looked up at the sky. There was nothing in the sky, not even the sparse stars. It was overcast. Zhang Chen felt empty in his heart, as if he heard his own voice saying, "Is this all right?" Yes, he always felt that when a person came to this world, walked so many roads, did so many things, experienced ups and downs, and tasted so many tastes, it seemed that it shouldn't be so simple. Just leave as soon as you say, and that's it? Isn't this too concise? But if it's not like this, so what can it be? How can it be? Li Yang patted him and told him, "Let's go." The 2 of them went back with a lonely look, took the freight elevator upstairs, and walked to the door of Meng Ping's ward. They unexpectedly found that the door of the room was open and the lights inside were dark. Zhang Chen reached out and turned on the light. The 2 of them were surprised. They saw that everything inside had been taken away, except for an empty bed frame. Even the sanitation had been done and the floor had been mopped. Zhang Chen immediately understood that the ward he came to every day had nothing to do with him. Everything about Meng Ping had been cleaned up. Tomorrow, there would be new patients and new visitors here to accompany him. Night people. Hey, who's going inside? A nurse shouted as she walked over. She walked to the door and saw them and said, "It's you." Li Yang asked the nurse, "Where are those other people?" "They've gone downstairs," the nurse said. "Thank you Tian Wei, Niu Niu 0517, Zi Zhang said, "You know whether a book is good or not, and book friends 201705171725155577 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all a happy life." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 1709. Zhang Chen, Lu Yun, and Xiao Fang went home. Everyone was silent along the way. Lu Yun drove the car, Xiao Fang sat in the passenger seat, and Zhang Chen sat alone in the back seat. Although it was late at night, the lights were still bright outside the car window. Zhang Chen sighed in his heart and went home, he went home, and Meng Ping went home too. He would have air conditioning, hot water, and supper when he went back. There was a warm bed at night, but Meng Ping's road home was getting darker and darker. At this moment, he should have been lying in the freezer of the funeral parlor. My brother. Zhang Chen thought silently in his heart and couldn't help but shed tears. When the car was almost driving to Xintiandi, Zhang Chen remembered it. He took out his mobile phone and sent a text message to Li Yong and Chen Qiang. Meng Ping is gone. Less than a minute later, Zhang Chen's cell phone rang. He looked at it and saw that it was Li Yong. Zhang Chen picked it up and told Li Yong that Meng Ping was gone. Li Yong said, "I saw it. Thinking about it now, fortunately I arrived last night, which can be regarded as the last trip." Zhang Chen hummed. "Zhang Chen, were you okay when Lao Meng left?" Zhang Chen said it would be soon. Li Yong sighed and said, "It's a relief." Zhang Chen and Li Yong said, "Yes, it's my wish." "What is your wish?" Li Yong asked. Zhang Chen told Li Yong about Meng Ping's decision to sell the Asia-Pacific commercial building to repay the debts of Shaoxing people. Zhang Chen said that the transfer agreement was signed today and he showed it to him. Meng Ping had said this before. If it is not dealt with properly, he will die with his eyes open. Li Yong sighed, "This is something only Lao Meng can do. By the way, Zhang Chen, when you are going to Shaoxing, tell me in advance. This is a good thing. I will say hello to the local government and ask them to come forward, solved all the problems at once. Don't bother. Chen Yakan and I know those people. We can just deal with them as a family," Zhang Chen said. "You, Zhang Chen, you said you were in business, and sometimes you are more naive than me," Li Yong said. "Have you forgotten that you, Gangzi, and Lao Meng donated money to my hometown? In the end, what kind of result? Many times, even with good intentions, there may not be a good result. Let me tell you, if the money is not dealt with and the old Meng people are gone, no one can do anything but admit that they are unlucky. But if they hear that the money is still available, many people's minds will be alive and they will the asking prices are sky high, and when I look at the orphans and widows left behind by Lao Meng, my heart becomes even more ruthless, and all kinds of interest will be added on, do you understand?" Zhang Chen said, "Okay, this is the complicated China you mentioned. I'll call you then and have a good rest." Just after hanging up the phone from Li Yong, Chen Qiang's call came back. He said, "Zhang Chen, why are you so difficult to call and are you still dealing with things?" Zhang Chen said no and was on the phone with Li Yong. Chen Qiang said, "Oh, let's all express our condolences, Zhang Chen. Let me know when the time for the funeral has been set. Yiyan and I must go there." Zhang Chen said yes. Chen Qiang was still in the office. After hanging up Zhang Chen's call, he stood up and walked to the row of monitors, staring at Unit 4. It was on this monitor that he discovered Meng Ping and loophole. Chen Qiang sighed. The next morning, Zhang Chen went to Kunlun Hotel and Qian Fang's room. Qian Fang called Chen Yakin and Meng Ping's sister over and told them that before we went to the funeral home, we had to discuss it with ourselves before we could decide. Memorial service, which is the date of cremation. Now, the first thing we need to discuss is where to bury Lao Meng. Where should we buy a cemetery? Qian Fang said. Meng Ping's sister said, of course she would go home, to Wuxi. What do you think? Qian Fang asked Chen Yakin. Chen Yakin hesitated and wanted to say something, but did not say it. Qian Fang knew in her heart that in fact, she had communicated with Chen Yakin about this matter in advance. Qian Fang said, I think from Lao Meng's perspective, Nanjing is more suitable. Lao Meng's career is in Nanjing, his company is in Nanjing, and his home is also in Nanjing. By the way, everything will be handed over to Yakin and his daughter. He must have lived in Nanjing. If Lao Meng is buried in Wuxi, will Yakin and the others still go to Wuxi to visit the grave? Zhang Chen understood clearly from the side. This was not only discussing where to buy Meng Ping's tomb. Qian Fang was also indirectly telling Meng Ping's sister that whether you have thought about it or not, there are some things you'd better think about. Don't even think about it, it's all in vain. After death, after grief, what follows are trivial practical problems. Zhang Chen said, I also think Nanjing is more suitable. Chen Yakin, what do you think? Chen Yakin said, I listen to you. All three people said this, and Meng Ping's sister said, well, you know my brother best, and if you think Nanjing is good, then Nanjing. Qian Fang said yes, we will find a suitable cemetery in Nanjing right away. However, it is the Spring Festival holiday now, so it is not easy to find someone. It is estimated that it will take a longer time. In this way, the time for the memorial service cannot be too tight. There is one more thing Zhang Chen said, the affairs of Shaoxing people have always been Meng Ping's heart. I wonder if this matter needs to be dealt with urgently. It is best to finish this matter before holding a memorial service. Will this make Meng Ping truly feel refreshed? Chen Yakin and Qian Fang both nodded. Qian Fang said, okay, as soon as the other company comes to work, we will go through the transfer procedures immediately. After completing it, we will give priority to this matter. Once this matter is handled, we will make a decision cremation time. Zhang Chen said yes. You don't have to go to the funeral parlor, Mr. Zhang. I'll ask Li Yang to go through the formalities and store Lao Meng temporarily in the funeral parlor, Qian Fang said, and Zhang Chen nodded. I'll go back to Hangzhou in the afternoon. Chen Yakin, do you want me to take you back to Shaoxing? Zhang Chen asked. Not going back to Shaoxing. Before Chen Yakin could answer, Qian Fang said, the mother and daughter are going to Nanjing with us. In the past few days, we will first decide on Lao Meng's cemetery. After work, we will also have to handle the changes to Lao Meng's company. The formalities, as well as the kindergarten for little Nail, should also be implemented. Zhang Chen said yes, thank you for the hard work, Qian Fang. Whatever, arranging the mother and daughter arrangements is also something Lao Meng told me. Lao Meng is my boss, no matter whether others are present or not. Do I dare not listen to him? Qian Fang said. Zhang Chen nodded. Qian Fang then turned to Meng Ping's sister and said to her, if anything happens at home, just call me. If my uncle and aunt have any requests, please tell me. If Lao Meng is gone, it's the same with me. It's the same, it works. Meng Ping's sister shook her head and said, there is nothing wrong at home. My brother has done enough for the family. Chen Yakin said to her, you can also call me. Also, I will find time to take Xiao Dingdao to Wuxi to visit her grandparents as soon as possible. Meng Ping's sister nodded. She and Chen Yakin looked at each other and started crying. Qian Fang also started crying. The three women were crying. Zhang Chen stood up and walked out. Mengping's part of the Asia-Pacific business building was sold for 962 million. All the debts of the Shaoxing people, minus Zhang Chen's repayment for Lu Ligan, plus the disposal of all Lao Ni's assets, were divided among them. The outstanding principal amount is 583 million. Li Yong called Zhang Chen and said that he had made an agreement with the Shaoxing County government. They would summon all creditors and hold a meeting with you. Local comrades also said that people like Lao Meng are rare. They will not allow the creditor lions to open their mouths. They will do the work for the interest part, and everything will be settled at once. Zhang Chen said, okay, thank you Li Yong. What you are thanking me for is Lao Meng's business, and I have to trouble you, Zhang Chen, to make another trip to Shaoxing, Li Yong said. Qian Fang, Li Yang, and Chen Yakin arrived in Hangzhou. Zhang Chen asked, where is the little nail? Qian Fang said, Sister Cao took her with her, and now Little Nail and Sister Cao are close to each other. Chen Yakin smiled and said, yes, I'm even jealous when I look at it. Xiao Wu heard that they were going to Shaoxing to deal with things and wanted to go with them. Zhang Chen looked at him strangely and asked, why are you going? The government is here to help, so you don't need to fight. Xiao Wu said, what do you think? I have understood their accounts. Chen Yakin and Zhang Chen said, it's true. Those who borrowed money from Lao Ni, didn't they also borrow a lot of money? In our village, you ask me for a debt, and I ask him for a debt, otherwise my parents I'm not so afraid, I'm just afraid that others will know that I'm with Lao Meng. Zhang Chen asks Xiao Wu, does it work for you in Shaoxing? I know them all, including those northeasterners from Qiqiao, Xiao Wu said. Zhang Chen said yes, then you will follow to escort him. Zhang Chen and the others arrived at the Shaoxing county government. The county government specially assigned a deputy county magistrate named Qi and the director of the Public Security Bureau to handle their matters. When Zhang Chen and the others arrived at the county government conference room, all the creditors had already arrived. Many of them knew Zhang Chen. They had a meeting together last time they dealt with the poll matter in Hangzhou. When these people saw Zhang Chen, they all greeted him. Even more people knew Chen Yakin. They came over to say hello to her and asked her where she had been after not seeing her for several years. Chen Yakin could only keep smiling at them. At the beginning of the meeting, County Magistrate Qi made his opening remarks and invited Zhang Chen to speak. Zhang Chen introduced Mengping to them one by one, explaining how they were in the ward. Zhang Chen said, we are here to deal with the debt today. Once the matter is taken care of, Mengping can go with peace of mind. After Zhang Chen finished speaking, there was silence in the conference room. County Magistrate Qi glanced at everyone and said, you creditors can also share your thoughts. Let me tell you, someone volunteered. County Magistrate Qi said, yes, you say. To be honest, when Ni's Hijan passed away, I thought I was unlucky. Yesterday the county government called me and told me that someone else claimed this account. I didn't believe it. I thought I had received a scam call. After repeated confirmations, I found out that the call was indeed from the county government. In terms of mood, I think most people in this conference room must be the same as me, happy and surprised. I heard Mr. Zhang introduce the situation earlier. When Mr. Zhang was talking about it, I was also calculating. I thought, there are really such stupid people in this world. Everyone is already dead, and he still wants to admit his fault. If you don't admit it, we will definitely not get a penny, right? I'm a rough guy, I don't know other words. Anyway, after listening to Mr. Zhang's introduction, I think this Mr. Meng is a good guy and a man. Yakin, you are not wrong about the person. Plus Yakin, I am a native of my hometown. What else can I say? I will express my position on this account. If you have enough money, you will give me the principal. If you don't have enough money, you can give me less. Anyway, I have already decided that this account is dead. I have money to take today, no matter how much I take, I am very happy. Okay, this is my attitude. Zhang Chen said, the principal part will be given to you every penny, and the interest part will also be considered as appropriate. No, no, just give us the principal, someone shouted, it's nothing like interest. I'm embarrassed to ask for more interest. This Mr. Meng doesn't have such a big responsibility in the first place. He can still carry it on one shoulder, that's good, it's interesting enough. Other debtors also said, yes, just pay the principal. This time, it was a big surprise to Zhang Chen and others. County Magistrate Qi smiled and said, how about it, Mr. Zhang, we Shaoxing people are still very reasonable, right? Zhang Chen nodded repeatedly. The principal list had already been prepared. County Magistrate Qi picked up the list and read it over. All creditors confirmed that the principal amount was correct. County Magistrate Qi said, okay, let's start distributing them now. Come one by one, don't rush. Those who get them will sign on this list. Chen Yakin took out her laptop and began to transfer the money one by one. The person who received the money consciously signed the list. In just over an hour, everything was done, and County Magistrate Qi handed the roster to Chen Yakin. Everyone returned to Zhang Chen's office upstairs in the dynamic zone of Hangzhou. It was Chen Yakin's first time here. Standing at the window, she looked at her original workplace from here. It was like a dream. Chen Yakin, Qian Fang, and Zhang Chen said, with so much extra money, I want to give some of it to Lao Meng's sister and parents. Can you agree? Zhang Chen, Qian Fang, and Li Yang were all stunned for a moment. Qian Fang nodded and said, Lao Meng did not misjudge you. You can make your own arrangements. Zhang Chen remembered it and said with a smile, some people got it wrong. He picked up the phone and called Li Yang and told Li Yang what happened today. Li Yang didn't believe it. He said, really, it went so smoothly? Are all the creditors so upright? Zhang Chen, you didn't lie to me. Of course not, Li Yang. It seems that China is complicated, but there are times when it is not complicated at all. Zhang Chen said, Li Yang, have you been an official for a long time and become a little out of touch with the masses? Li Yang laughed loudly, okay, Zhang Chen, your criticism is right, I want to review it. Mom, I was wrong too, Xiao Wu scolded himself on the side. Thank you Hu Hu and Ronald for the many rewards. Thank you for your monthly votes from Hu Hu, Ling Ling in the Lake, Soft and Melodious 123, Shi Yitan, Book Friends Scooter, The Old Cat Who Doesn't Drink, Wang Wenhai, Qian Dad, and Tianying 1978. Thanks for all the testimonials and great reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1710. Mengping's memorial service will be held at 9 a.m. on Saturday, February 18, 2012. Because the memorial service is over, Zhang Chen and the others have to send Mengping's urn to Nanjing for burial. According to folklore, must be buried before the sun goes down. 2 buses came from Wuxi, and many of Mengping's old colleagues and friends came. 1 bus came from Hangzhou, including Lao Zhang and Zhang Chen's mother, Xiao Zhao's parents, Lao Lu and his wife, and teacher Tan. Mrs. Tan and others, as well as many people from Zhang Chen's company and Tan Shahen's company, all came. A bus also came from Nanjing, and almost all of Mengping's friends and people from Jianfang's company were here. In addition to buses, there are countless people like Zhang Chen, Han Emperor Liu Bang, Chu Tianlin, Lin Shuwen, Wu Ziyawai, Xiao Shu, etc. who drove there by themselves. There are many people who don't even know Qianfang and Li Yang. They are in Nanjing. I saw the obituary in the Wuxi newspaper and ran here on my own. Lu Yun had already chosen the largest farewell hall in Longhua Funeral Home, but the farewell hall was still full of visitors. The staff asked Lu Yun, which leader died here? Lu Yun said that he is not a leader, but a friend. How is it possible? The other party said he didn't believe it. If you weren't a leader, how could you organize so many people to attend the memorial service and have so many cars? Lu Yun smiled. She felt there was no need to explain this. Sun Ho and Huang Jianren came, Chen Qiang and Lin Yiyan came, Lao Xie, Cao Minfang, and Mr. Han also came from Hainan. Zhang Chen accidentally discovered the hospital nurse Lao Tao in the crowd. Chen walked over and asked, "Master Tao, why are you here?" Lao Tao said, "I asked the second president, and he told me that Master Meng's memorial service will be held today, so I asked for leave to come and see Master Meng off." Zhang Chen quickly said, thank you, Master Tao." Lao Tao said, "I still want to ask, when Master Meng's memorial service is over, will you send him back to Nanjing?" Zhang Chen is right. "I just don't worry about this, that's why I have to come," Lao Tao said. "What's wrong?" Zhang Chen asked puzzledly. Lao Tao said, "Master Meng's soul follows the urn. It is so far from Shanghai to Nanjing and the car drives so fast. You must be careful not to let Master Meng's soul get lost and fail to keep up with you. Only when he is buried with the urn can Master Meng rest in peace." Zhang Chen was frightened by what Lao Tao said, and he quickly asked, "Master Tao, what should I do?" Lao Tao said, "The person holding the urn can shout all the way to guide the soul of Master Meng. When passing a place, go on a bridge or go through a tunnel, especially where there are forks in the road, shout, Meng, the Master's soul can hear it and follow." Zhang Chen broke out in a cold sweat and said, "Thank you, Master Tao, otherwise, Meng Ping's soul would really be thrown into the wilderness by us." After saying that, Zhang Chen himself felt a little funny. How could he believe these things? But when he thought about it, Zhang Chen panicked and shouted in his heart that he had offended someone. He didn't know who he had offended. He still had an attitude of preferring to believe it or not, thinking that if it really happened, it would be a big deal if Meng Ping's soul was thrown into the wilderness. At the memorial service, Zhang Chen gave a eulogy, and everyone was bursting into tears. Zhang Chen couldn't continue talking, choked with sobs, and paused for a long time before continuing. Cremated with Meng Ping's body, Chen Yakin brought back a copy of the list of Shaoxing's creditors, as well as many friends who all brought salted ducks from Nanjing Zhuangyuan building. There were more than 30 in total. It seemed that Meng Ping's body was cremated. Ping's hobby has become well known. The staff at the funeral home quit, saying they had never done anything like this before. Burning people turned into roasting ducks. "We are not from a roast duck restaurant." Lu Yun found connections, got a job, and gave red envelopes to the workers in the incineration workshop, and they agreed to cremate the more than 30 ducks together with Meng Ping. Some workers told Lu Yun, "If this is the case, I don't know. Is the urn you bought big enough? We have never burned ducks. We don't know how big the pile of ducks will be after they are burned. We can't tell them apart, right?" Lu Yun temporarily took Erguo with her, went to the hall to change to the largest urn, and walked to the incineration workshop with the urn in hand. Erguo said with red eyes, "It's okay now. Now Lao Meng is fat. He was raised by force. Lao Meng is the last one and has lost just a little bit of weight." After receiving the urn, Zhang Chen told everyone what Lao Tao had said to him before. Everyone became nervous and immediately changed the plan and put a van at the front. In the car, except for Chen Yakin and Xiao Dian, there were these are Meng Ping's brothers. The urn is still very heavy. It's such a long way from Shanghai to Nanjing. We have to hold it and shout all the way, so everyone can only take turns. In the second car, Meng Ping's mother and sister were seated, while Qianfang drove. The third car was occupied by Meng Ping's father. Even on days like this, Meng Ping's parents were not willing to ride in the same car. When they came from Wuxi, his mother was sitting in his sister's car. When his father saw, turned around and took the bus. Meng Ping's brother-in-law drove this car. Su Jiaqing and Ye Yulan were sitting in the car, trying to be on guard against anything happening along the way. The mighty motorcade started to set off. Zhang Chen placed the urn of Meng Ping wrapped in red cloth on his lap, steadying it with both hands, and started the car. Zhang Chen shouted loudly, "Meng Ping, we are going home. Meng Ping, turn right here and go onto Kaoxi Road. Meng Ping, it's better to turn right. Let's take Caobao Road. Meng Ping, we have passed Gillan Park. Meng Ping, it's better to turn right on the middle ring road ahead, we're on the elevated road. Lao Meng, we have changed people now. You heard clearly, I am Sun Ho, we have arrived in Suzhou, and now we are passing the Shanghai-Nanjing Expressway Suzhou East Interchange. Lao Meng, we are about to enter the expressway service area. Lao Meng, it's me now, Chen Qiang, we are ready to leave. When we leave the expressway service area, Lao Meng, please follow us." Xiao Fang followed Zhang Chen back to Hangzhou. A 4-person team from her company had arrived here early, and she came to meet them. Zhang Chen's Sky City e-commerce park is still under construction, and many people have asked to enter the park. Many of them are coming for Xiao Fang's incubator. These people have submitted their own business plans. The variety of plans is dazzling, but the imagination is also wide open. It turns out that when everyone wants to get rich, so many fantastic ideas will burst out. The team that arrived early had already eliminated hundreds of business plans for several rounds. They selected a dozen projects that they all thought were good and handed them over to Xiao Fang for review. Xiao Fang felt that it was very unsatisfactory. She felt that the entire team had made a directional mistake and went astray. The projects they selected were basically the kind of plans that could tell a complete story, but were too big and inappropriate. If such a plan can finally be implemented into a real project, then go online and search, there are a lot of them. Xiao Fang decided to come over by herself to train her team and bring the teams that were off track back on the right track. She also wanted to choose from the projects that were eliminated by the team to see if there were any projects that were truly worth paying attention to. If there were any, you can use examples to teach the team what projects are worth investing in. Zhang Chen and Xiao Fang returned home and sat on the sofa in the living room. Zhang Chen sighed. Xiao Fang looked at him and asked, "Are you tired?" Zhang Chen nodded and said, "It feels like this period of time has passed very long. Before and after, it seems like two different worlds." Xiao Fang said, "It's understandable. The strange thing is that when your sister passed away, I felt that time passed very quickly." Zhang Chen said, "Every day I beg for time to go slower, slower, slower. It seems that as long as it goes slower, I am closer to the moment your sister left, closer to your sister, but time flies ruthlessly." "Brother Meng is gone, have you told my sister?" Xiao Fang asked. Zhang Chen nodded. "As I said, I asked your sister to go to the freshman registration office to look for Meng Ping." Xiao Fang laughed softly. Talking about the situation when they were shouting all the way to send Meng Ping back to Nanjing, Zhang Chen asked Xiao Fang, "Do you believe these things?" "What, brother-in-law?" "That's what Master Tao said, that the soul will follow the urn." Zhang Chen said, "I didn't believe it at first, but when old Tao said it, I believed it. I was afraid of leaving Meng Ping in the wilderness." Xiao Fang thought for a moment and said, "If it were me, I would believe it." Zhang Chen got curious and asked, "Aren't you a scientist? Do you still believe this?" Xiao Fang's Weibo name is Investment Scientist. "What's wrong with scientists?" Xiao Fang said, "Many scientists, including Einstein, started from materialism and finally became idealistic. There are too many unknowable things, and people's understanding is too slow. Many things, it really is something that people can't feel or understand, but it does exist. When dark matter and antimatter first came out, they were no more than ghost stories. But now, most scientists in the world have recognized the existence of dark matter and antimatter. If even the four-dimensional space can be confirmed to exist, then humans are still idiots. There are too many things they don't know and can't even imagine. Zhang Chen nodded and said it made sense. Ouch, Zhang Chen exclaimed. What's wrong? Xiao Fang asked. Zhang Chen said, when I came back from the cemetery that day, holding your sister's urn, I didn't shout, your sister, is she still in that valley? As soon as Zhang Chen said this, Xiao Fang also panicked. Zhang Chen stood up and said, no, let's go. What to do? If your sister hadn't come home, she would still be waiting for us there. Let's go find her, Zhang Chen said, and Xiao Fang quickly agreed. Zhang Chen entered the room and wrapped Xiao Zhao's urn with red cloth. The two of them went downstairs and got in the car. Xiao Fang remembered it. She said, it seemed that day, we didn't shout from the funeral home to the cemetery. My sister would. Aren't you still at the funeral home? Zhang Chen said yes, then we will find the cemetery from the funeral home, and then find it again. Xiao Fang said yes. This originally ridiculous thing became serious because of one person's solemnity. One person's seriousness infected another person, making the other person become serious, which in turn affected this person. When two people become more and more serious, an illusory thing becomes real, and the absurd becomes less absurd. People often do this. For example, all time is actually the same, but people will believe that in this exact same time, some days are of great significance to the country, and some days are of great significance to the country. The individual has important meaning. When everyone was solemn and living each anniversary in a serious manner, it was really hard to tell the difference between Zhang Chen and Xiao Fang now. The most important thing is that whether Meng Ping or Xiao Zhao, they are all their relatives. Many times, when the parties involved in the incident become their relatives, people will temporarily lose their minds. We treat our relatives, always seem so overly cautious. Thank you Quadratic VC for the reward of 2 fishes, 1 up and 1 down, at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Xia Lu, De Ji Lao, Lpu Eco Home Ecological Wood Mu, Xiang J, Ashina Feng, Galaxy, Yunlong Frogfish, Once Upon a Mountain, Rainman, Pai Wu Sun, Dong Long Dong, Nan K Yiman 79, monthly ticket for book friend 201806250713420028. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 1711. Zhang Chen and Xiao Fang drove to the parking lot of Longzhou Funeral Home in Hangzhou. Xiao Fang parked the car and Zhang Chen asked her, while we are sitting here, will your sister see our car? Xiao Fang was not sure either, she said hesitantly, maybe. Zhang Chen thought for a while, handed the urn to Xiao Fang, and said to her, you sit here and call your sister. I will go down below and your sister will follow me when she sees me. Xiao Fang said yes. Zhang Chen got out of the car and walked around the parking lot first, then went to the store next to the parking lot where he bought wreaths and wrote elegiac couplets. Then he walked up the row of high steps at the end of the parking lot and walked into the funeral parlor. In the service hall, looking around, I feel like there is always a pair of eyes looking at me. He walked out of the service hall and walked past the farewell halls one after another. There were 2 halls where memorial services were being held. Zhang Chen thought to himself that Xiao Zhao would definitely not be in them. He walked to Xiao Zhao's farewell hall that day. The hall was empty. Zhang Chen walked around in it, came out, and then walked to the hall at the back where he was waiting to receive the urn. He also stood for a while at the door of the incineration workshop. There was a cart parked inside the door, with a corpse covered in white cloth waiting in line for incineration. Jiang Chen stood for a while, thinking that he had visited the entire funeral parlor, and there was no place he had not visited, except for the incineration workshop with a row of incinerators. If he entered there, he would be kicked out. Jiang Chen muttered something in his mouth and whispered, "Xiao Zhao, let's go, let's go." He walked back to the car, opened the door, sat down in the passenger seat, and took the urn from Xiaofang's hand. The two of them waited for another 5 minutes, as if waiting for Xiao Zhao to get in the car. Jiang Chen said, "Let's go." Xiaofang started the car, and Jiang Chen started shouting, "Xiao Zhao, we are coming for you, come with us. Xiao Zhao, we are leaving the funeral home and going to the cemetery. Xiao Zhao, turn left here and reach Zixi Road." They arrived at the parking lot of the cemetery and parked the car. Jiang Chen got out of the car holding Xiao Zhao's urn. The two of them shouted while going up the hill until they walked to Xiao Zhao's tomb. Jiang Chen put Xiao Zhao's urn in his hand. The two people sat down in front of her tomb. What surprised them was that after so many years, the handwriting on Xiao Zhao's tombstone was still very clear, as if it had just been written. Xiaofang said, "The staff at this cemetery are really hard-working." Jiang Chen looked at the tombstone next to him. The handwriting was blurry and older than Xiao Zhao's tombstone. Jiang Chen understood. He said, "It's not a person from the cemetery, it's a small tree." Xiaofang also understood and snorted, "This guy, has he told you about this?" Jiang Chen shook his head, and Xiaofang said, "You never told me that this guy is always like this." "How is it always?" Jiang Chen asked. "He just likes to dominate my sister," Xiaofang said with a smile. "When we were young, when my sister came back, we would always have a big fight and fight over who she would sleep with at night. My sister had no choice but to stay with the three of us. We were squeezed into the same bed, with my sister sleeping in the middle and each of us sleeping on one side." Jiang Chen laughed and shouted, "Xiao Zhao, did you hear that? Is this the case?" Xiaofang continued to smile, "It's not over yet. If my sister turns sideways, the other one will definitely not do it, and there will be another quarrel." Jiang Chen couldn't help laughing. He remembered that when he went back with Xiao Zhao, one on each side, he had to squeeze her brother and sister even when walking on the field ridge. Jiang Chen said, "No wonder." "What's the wonder?" Xiaofang asked. "No wonder your sister sleeps so well. It turns out it was all trained by you." Xiaofang nodded, "Now that I think about it, my sister was squeezed in the middle all night and had to sleep on her back. How uncomfortable it would be, but my sister has never been angry." Xiaofang said, her eyes were red, and she shouted, "Sister, thank you." The two people sat in front of Xiao Zhao's grave for more than an hour. The sun set a little, and then they held Xiao Zhao's urn and shouted all the way down the mountain. When they went up the mountain, there were staff watching them from a distance. Although they felt a little strange, they just felt sorry for the deceased and thought about why there were only two people walking him up the mountain. It was so deserted. When he saw Jiang Chen and Xiao Zhao carrying the urns down the mountain again, he was shocked. When Jiang Chen and the others walked to their car in the parking lot, 4 or 5 cemetery staff members had already gathered around them. Someone asked, "Whose urn are you holding?" Jiang Chen said, "It belongs to my wife." "Is your wife's grave here?" "Right. Then why don't you bury it?" "If you don't want to bury her, I'll bring her to have a look." "In which section, row, and number is her tomb located?" Jiang Chen shook his head, "I forgot, who would remember this?" "That won't work. You have to go to the office with us to verify," the other party said. Jiang Chen said, "I won't go, we are going home." "Can't leave," someone shouted. At this time, a worker remembered and shouted, "By the way, Are you the one who ran away holding his wife's urn? That day, it was this worker who was preparing to help Xiao Zhao seal the tomb. That incident left a deep impression on him. When he saw Zhang Chen earlier, he felt familiar, and then he remembered it. Zhang Chen was right, it's me. I brought my wife to see if her house is leaking. No, after you left that day, I sealed it back, sealing it well. Zhang Chen said, thank you. The worker said, let's go, let's go. Xiao Fang and Zhang Chen got into the car. When the car door was about to close, Zhang Chen heard the worker whispering to others, don't mess with him, he's crazy. Zhang Chen smiled and was too lazy to pay attention to him. Zhang Chen shouted, Xiao Zhao, we are going home. The two of them returned home. Zhang Chen held the urn and asked Xiao Fang, do you want your sister to accompany you? Xiao Fang said yes. Zhang Chen carried Xiao Zhao's urn into Xiao Fang's room and put it on the bedside table. Zhang Chen took a long breath and asked, do you think your sister is back? Xiao Fang stood there, thinking quietly for a while, pricking up her ears as if listening to something. After a while, she said, I feel it coming back. Zhang Chen and Xiao Zhao said, Xiao Zhao, you may not have heard what I said to you this morning. You are no longer alone over there. Meng Ping is also here. You go find him. Xiao Fang said, yes, go to the freshman registration office. Zhang Chen said, maybe you don't need to look for him. You will soon find out that this guy Meng Ping has made earth-shattering wherever he goes. Before the Sky City e-commerce industrial park was built, the studio of Xiao Fang and her team was located by the Meisi River, in the townhouse Zhang Chen bought for Xiao Fang, which was next door to Tan Shahen's home. The house was originally well decorated. Even after so many years, it was still very well cleaned. I went to the furniture market to buy furniture and put it up before it could be used. The first floor was used as an office and the second floor was used as a dormitory for their team members. Zhang Chen and Xiao Fang said that if the working conditions in this place were too simple, they could put them in a hotel, which would only last half a year. Xiao Fang said no, these people will work with entrepreneurial teams in the future and experience the feeling of starting a business themselves. Moreover, this condition is already very good for them. How many companies are there in Hangzhou? Can they live in a townhouse by the city's river? Zhang Chen was right when he thought about it. Compared with when he and Xiao Zhao started their business, these people were already in heaven. Xiao Fang called her team for a meeting. Xiao Fang said, I have read all your emails and I am very disappointed, to be honest. Let me tell you the conclusion first. None of the projects you recommended meet the standards of our company. It can be said that the entire army submerge. Let me tell you the conclusion first, and then you can tell me what the problem is. The team members spoke one by one, thinking and talking about the shortcomings of the project. After they all finished speaking, Xiao Fang said to them, what you just said didn't get to the point. You were all talking about this plan and that plan. The only thing you didn't say was your own reasons. If an army fights a war, the entire army was wiped out, do you think it was more the enemy's fault, or yours? Everyone looked at each other. They were all talking and chattering just now, but now they didn't dare to say anything. Xiao Fang said, these projects were selected by you from hundreds of projects. After repeated discussions and screening, you finally submitted them to me. They all have one characteristic, that is, the plans are all perfectly written. With rich pictures and texts, and the binding design is also very particular. Every plan is ultimately aimed at listing on Nasdaq. Then let me ask you, do you set the rules of the game in this world? Why should this world give way to you and let things proceed according to your plan? The place where a person lives is 15 minutes away from the company, 25 minutes by car, 25 minutes by bus, and an hour's walk. This person is late every day, and let me tell you, I always hold my watch when I go out, and as a result, I am read all the way while driving. Deng, I just ran to the bus stop, but it just left the stop and refused to wait for me. Today, when I was walking, trenches were being dug on the road, so I had to take a detour. Listen, is every reason he has justified. But who is responsible for being late every day? Of course it's him, someone said. Xiaofang was right, the responsibility lies with him. Since you can't control the city's traffic lights, you are not the bus driver's father, nor the mayor. The municipal company has no obligation to dig ditches and report to you first. You are still holding your watch. Go out and expose yourself to all unpredictable situations. Your mistakes are doomed and you can't blame others. The same is true for the plans you handed in. Just ask any of the entrepreneurial teams and ask them how many days it will take to get the business license. I guarantee that none of them will be able to tell you. How many days will it take for even one to get the business license? A startup team that has no confidence in what they have got actually swears to tell you that the company will be listed in 18 months. Is it possible? Impossible, someone said softly. But you just believe it's possible, otherwise you wouldn't have sent me this plan. Do you think this is their problem or yours? Xiaofang asked. Several people were silent, but they were sweating coldly. Xiaofang said, the plan is not a novel. Don't read the future they describe to you, don't listen to the stories. Of course, this cannot be entirely your fault. It has something to do with the current direction of public opinion in the country. Go watch TV and news websites. Those articles reporting on how so-and-so succeeded are all about their eventual success in listing on Nasdaq. It seems that as long as the Nasdaq is listed, it will open up the treasure trove of Alibaba and the 40 thieves, and they can sleep on the mountain of gold and silver. They don't know that even among the companies listed on Nasdaq, almost 8%, nearly 400 companies, are delisted every year, and there are many more companies that are struggling on the line of life and death. And we are not venture capital. If we were venture capital, we would be allowed to support the listing of the company and exit with profits as our sole purpose. I told you that we are more concerned about the value investment of the company and the companies we support. Even if we can go public, for us, it will always be the starting point, not the end. To us, all entrepreneurial teams aiming to be listed on Nasdaq are just playing rogue. We leave these companies to venture capital investors who also like to tell stories and play rogue. We don't need it. I understand, boss, where should our focus be? Your focus should not stop at how perfect the plan they can provide, and don't listen to long-term stories. Those who like to tell stories, when it comes to Nasdaq listing, you should ask, what next? How can you guarantee that you won't delist after listing? Believe me, most people start talking nonsense at this time. Xiaofang said, and the others laughed softly. Xiaofang said to them, what you have to focus on is the shining point. Even if this team does not have such ambitious goals, as long as they can clearly explain what they want to do and think clearly, let's see what they think and say it can impress you. Just get straight to the point and focus on the project itself instead of other complicated details. Who among you dares to invest money in someone who can't even figure out what he wants to do? For example, if you run an online mall or app, tell me how to attract people to your website. Just how to attract people to use your app. As for other things, what business model, profit model, is not something you should care about. We are the ones who specialize in this. If you don't know how to get a license, we will help you. If you don't know how to form a team, we will help you form one. If you don't have money, we will give you money and help you do a round B, round N. If you don't know how to promote it, we will promote it for you. Everything will come naturally. When you are ready to go public, we will help you go public. We also need to ensure that you can continue to develop and not be delisted. We are the professionals, they are not. They only need to do their own thing well. I understand, boss, several people said. Xiaofang took out 3 or 4 pages of paper from the folder and said to the team leader Xiaoa, please help me make an appointment with these 2 people. Thank you Yuan Wang, Su Yuenian, Smelly Socks, Piao Lingyi Mayfly, why can't I change my name, Win San Liu, Purple How, Breeze 365, Book Friends 201806210933222406, Book Friends 2019070623105465 Book Friends 2018052311285760 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you a happy life.